agree on the issue of the positions. And that is why the end product of NADCO really did not address the Wanjiku issue of cost of living. The English say a stitch in time saves nine. Had we stitched this last year, probably wouldn't have gotten the country to where we did this year. And that's why I was the dissenting voice in Bomas when the cost of living issue was taken off the table. And the report literally carried mostly the other issues of positions and other matters. So I did not append my signature to that in protest. But as things stand today, I think one issue that I agree with all the speakers, which is the Kenya that we want. And I think all we need to embrace is a Kenya that is a value-based society. From a valueless society, we did put values in our constitution under Article 10. And some of those, like integrity, accountability, inclusivity, would deal with most of the ills in Kenya of tribalism and corruption. If we only embrace those values under Article 10 of our Constitution and work towards making Kenya truly value-based society.
And then back to the intrigues of today. I have questions about that, but I'm also going to give you, Mizani, the opportunity to ask a question before I go on too long. I do want to ask, though, because we see, again, all the same usual suspects. We saw your friend, Kalonzo Musyoka. I don't know if that was a picture on Tony's timeline, if that was a picture from today, but if it was, Kalonzo Musyoka was in that photograph, standing next to Baba and a number of other people from Azimio. And then we hear these statements saying, sort of dissenting voices. And I can't help wondering, I've said this before about speaking from both sides of the mouth, and politicians, in Kenya, like somebody else said earlier, it's a constant soap opera. I'm intrigued if Kalonzo's position hasn't changed. I can't help thinking, why was he there? What was he doing in that meeting? Over to you, Eugene, and then let's hear from Mizani.
I think I must tell you the truth that all is not well in our Azimio house, because we were with the people through last year, through the demonstrations. We were on the side of the people fighting against the rising cost of living and the taxes. And you do recall that our Azimio members of parliament, 88 of them stood with the people in saying no to the high taxes. And we had 176 members on the other side that passed that bill that now became the act of the Finance Act 2023 that has been nullified by the court today. Again, when you come to the current Finance Bill 2024, our side again stood with the people. But recently, there have been developments where there were talks between our leader, the Right Honorable Raila Odinga, and President William Ruto. Most of us in Azimio were not party to it, including the negotiations that led to the appointments of some of the members from Azimio. We have dissented openly, and even internally, the rest of the Azimio member constituent parties have said we are not party to it. Our position remains the same tonight. The offer of joining government was not made to Azimio. It was made to ODM. And that is why when you look at the list of the 6 who appointed ODM members, they've made changes in the party today. There were further consultations today, but as to our position, Kalonzo Musyoka, Wiper, NAK Kenya, Martha Karua, Jubilee, PNU, KANU, we all stand with the people of Kenya. We support the Gen Zs, the millennials, and all those who are fighting the harsh taxes of Zakayo and the bad policies of Kenya Kwanza. We stand with the people tonight. I wish to confirm that.
Thank you, Eugene. And this is Mizani, and I'll have 2 questions for you. One, I go back to my former question on what happened on the 25th of June. Was it necessarily people revolting against a bad governance system that has impoverished them? Or did we have what the president described as a goon-infested demonstration that turned what would have been a better course for governance to actually take advantage and attack institutional, would I say, buildings or whatever it is. What do you make of that specific event?
I do recall what happened, during the French Revolution. It was started by a regime that would not listen to the people, and even when the people were at the gates of the palace, the Queen Antoinette was asking, "Why are they making noise?" They say the people have no bread. Say, well, if they have no bread, let them eat cake. The insensitivity of a regime that's out of touch with the reality, the arrogance, is what led to what happened in France, is what led to what happened in Kenya on the 25th of June. The people participated in the budget making process as they're entitled by the Constitution. In fact, 90% of Kenyans said no to the Finance Bill 2023. It's one that went through the largest public participation process. But when it came to the members of parliament, there was someone to State House.
All right,
you can hear me?
Yes, Eugene, just a quick one then. Okay, go ahead.
It is that breakdown of communication between the people and their representatives. When parliament is captured, the members are called to State House and told, do not remove even a comma or a full stop, pass the bill as it is. Then it bastardizes the process of public participation and the right of the people to be heard and to be represented. So the people are revolting against a parliament that had been captured, that was not listening to them, and that is why the people went to take back their authority.
In an ideal situation, Eugene, you've sat in the cabinet, so you understand how information, and for that matter, very interesting position, that is defense. One would have said there was security lapse. We had the deputy president going ahead and saying the president was misadvised in matters national security and what was happening in the country. Would you argue that that was a very intentional occurrence on that particular day? And why I ask that is because we have seen the Azimio team, rather the ODM team, seeming to be winning a number of seats in the nominees' positions. What is it that Honorable Raila Odinga traded for those positions?
I think that's a question you should ask him. It'd be unfair to ask me that question because you know where I stand. I do not agree with the decision to go into bed with William Ruto, who is seen as the oppressor, against the liberation, the movement of the Gen Zs. Why did these young people go to parliament? Because many of them have reached a point where they have nothing to lose. If you look at, I had one of the speakers talk about deaths by suicide. These matters came before us at Bomas. When we were shown the figures, the percentages that had more than doubled, we were shocked because many Kenyan families cannot make ends meet, even the middle class. Their pay slips, you look at them, they have been taxed until what they are giving to the government is more than what they are taking home. So I think that is where we reached, and we must look at where the range started beating us. When we had members of parliament cross the aisle to the other side, an artificial majority created, then we created a tyranny of numbers that has given us these tyrannical laws that have today been nullified by the court. Thank God, the justice is still our shield and defender.
Indeed, our shield and defender is the justice, and in the words of the Constitution, the national anthem. Now, Redemptor, you have enough time stated that if we are going to allow the nominees to take over the nominations and become CSs, they definitely be taking checks with blood in their hands. Is that the position you still hold? Redemptor, are you with us? All right, we don't have Redemptor. Maybe we'll flip to you, Tony, and then to Dr. Mumbi. Tony, if you don't mind taking the same question, because Redemptor is back with us. Redemptor, greetings, can you hear us?
I was just going to ask Eugene two questions. Then I can comment later after Redemptor. I wanted to ask Eugene, now that ODM have gone to bed with the government, and of course, even the official leader of opposition now is an ODM person in parliament, it means there is no opposition in parliament. There is, of course, a problem of ODM now being in bed with Zakayo. what are the options for the opposition who have said no? How will you be able to assist the Kenyan public in being able to raise these concerns? Would you have public rallies? Would you be able to do things that seem to complement what the Gen Zs are doing? Or how will you tackle this problem? Otherwise, Ruto will be able to control parliament. He'll be able to control the executive. There'll be no checks and balances on him. What do you and Kalonzo and those who have said no, what are you going to do about it? And then you can also clarify a problem I've had with Briscoe has been asking me who is older, me or you?
Can I proceed?
Yes, I'll finish. Go ahead.
Yes, I think first of all to clarify that in Azimio there are many constituent parties, and it's only one party that has engaged into some negotiations with the William Ruto administration. The rest of us remain firmly in the opposition, and we will not take any positions on the government side. We have made our position very, very clear, and we stand with the people. We'll continue fighting for the people, and we'll continue doing what the opposition does. We will engage the people. We will also mobilize our members of parliament to continue fighting for the people inside and outside of parliament. Thank you. And Tony and I, age mates, the Kikuyu have a saying, "Nyumbanari ka itumanago."
Thank you, Azir. Cheers. Bye. All right.
Dr. Mumbi, what say you? Do you have any questions or input? Oh, sorry. I think we were going to go to Redemptor. Actually, sorry, Dr. Mumbi. Redemptor?
That's absolutely fine.
Sure. Thanks, Dr. Mumbi. Redemptor. Mizani had asked you a question. Mizani, do you want to repeat it?
I believe Redemptor got the question because I was asking in terms of those who have been nominated into cabinet, including the ODM team. Redemptor has argued in the past that most of these nominations are courtesy of blood that was shed of innocent Kenyans. Redemptor, do you think that in itself provided other people a political lifeline? And how do we move forward as a country?
I said the other day, and I said this with sarcasm, that these nominations were made for the young people, to divide the map. And the anger you see among the young people again is, did we go to the streets and lose our innocence only for these two political groups that have held us hostage for the last 20 years to come and claim positions? So I don't think it's going to be an easy thing for the citizens. Like Tony keeps saying, there will be no money for them to share out. And then they've been calling this cabinet a skunk, and now they are part of the skunk. So yes, the nominations for me are in bad taste. They make a mockery of the loss of life. And they could have waited for 2 years if they believe in free, there's fairness and they are popular, instead of riding on a wave where people want change and they're saying we are tribalists. And these young people gave us a lifeline in terms of being tribeless and partyless. And then they take us back and they start dividing people, the Kamba nation, the Murembe nation, the Luo nation, and people have bled and have died and are hurting because of that. So for me, these were not nominations based on competence or anything. These are managers of a political crisis that they're experiencing. They're not here to give us services. So yes, I still hold that they really spat on the young people who were looking for good governance, not tribal lineages. And I've heard the young people say now these young people are going to be militarized to hurt each other. How do you divide Kenyans and the people who are the leaders of today, not the people who are about to retire and go to the grave? And then you come and take these young people and tell them one group is already radicalized by ideology and by facts and by information, and the other group is being militarized out of the weapon of poverty.
Thank you so much, Redemptor. So, excuse me. Eugene asked, where did the rain start beating on us. And the thing is, it didn't just start with the Ruto administration, let's be fair, right? For example, if I'm not mistaken, for example, the housing component was started in the previous regime. I did say that the housing component is actually a good thing, and we should have some type of bill to govern housing. But Eugene, you were talking about people taking paychecks home and just not being sufficient. And this is not just to Eugene; it's for everyone. But I think for somebody like Eugene, who's been in government, we haven't had living wages in Kenya. Uh, you are traveling. Government officials are traveling. There's government officials and legislators traveling for benchmarking overseas all the time. They know what living wages are in other countries. They know that goods in Kenyan supermarkets are far more expensive than in European, American, Middle Eastern, Chinese supermarkets, for example. So we don't have living wages. We don't have um, people can't afford healthcare because we don't have a national healthcare system. We don't have the ability to control our means of production. The prices of our commodities are priced by foreigners. There's no such organization such as OPEC for tea and coffee. These are really the fundamental issues that I think Gen Z have been very eloquent in expressing that, and I think Gen Z has been very clear that it is not just this administration. Yes, this administration happens to be in power. Yes, yes, the finance bill 2024 is especially egregious. But by the way, for example, the the bill, the very offensive bill that criminalizes seed sharing was passed, if I'm not mistaken, under Uhuru during your administration. So the rain started beating us when the political class, I don't know if there was a time they cared. I think maybe immediately after independence, I think Kenya had a bit of a honeymoon for just over a decade. But even in that decade, there were political assassinations that, that Kenyans still harken back to. But the rain started beating us when Kenyan politicians didn't care about that average man, woman, and child who cannot take a sufficient paycheck home. Eugene, you acknowledge that this didn't just start in this administration, correct?
I do acknowledge that, and the housing levy actually was part of the Big Four agenda. Housing was a key pillar, and indeed, when that matter came up, there was a serious pushback. There was even legal challenge to it, and the issue was, well, it's a good idea, and it's something that is transformative, but it should be voluntary. I think that is one thing that was pushed, and as a government that will listen, we backed down on it. The only difference between us and the current administration is that they're very obstinate, they're very arrogant, they don't want to listen, and they would say, it's either a way or the highway. Na mutalipa ushuru wa nyumba, mpende msipende. I think it's that attitude that is so oppressive to many Kenyans who will not be beneficiaries. First of all, there's no clear way how they're going to get these houses. There are all sorts of issues. So I agree with you that it's a challenge that has been there. The difference is how we addressed it. When you listen, you back down, you make changes. You can, like I said, a stitch in time can save 9. Had they listened last year to 90% of Kenyans who said no to this oppressive bill, would not have lost the 75 lives we did. They wouldn't have actually brought another finance bill 2024 that was worse, and we've lost, now we're talking of 60 lives. We're being told over 50 bodies in the city mortuary. Many still have bullet wounds, meaning these numbers could go to over 100. We go beyond the 75 of last year. I mean, was it worth it? Were over some bad piece of legislation that Kenyans had said no to, but we imposed? I think those are some of the things that we must hold responsible, those who bear the greatest responsibility. Thank you.
Thank you, Eugene. Ndegwa, Wakili, the seed, the bill that outlaws, I don't know which one it is exactly, but the bill that outlaws seed sharing between farmers is actually unconstitutional. Did you, as a constitutional lawyer, is this something you are aware of? I'm sure you go ahead.
Yeah, thank you very much, and for granting me the opportunity to address such kind of a distinguished gathering. We are talking about the Agriculture and Food Authority Act. The act was enacted in 2013. That is when it was first legislated, and it's an act that consolidated all other acts that were dealing with agriculture previously. So they were all brought under the armpit of one legislation, the Agriculture and Food Authority, which one we call AFA. It is true that the act itself has been subjected to constitutional testing, and it's one that also bringing out the question of seeds sharing and also of the GMO and Modified Act, which is also an act in this country. And we have attempted to test it before the Constitutional Court. But unfortunately, this time round, the matter was taken before the ELC Court, which was dealt with by Justice Angote. And Justice Angote, even after Zakayo had legalized GMOs and these seed sharing issues, he decided to approve of the same. So as we speak, the matter is pending before the Court of Appeal. I may not have a lot of comments on it because it's active litigations, and I don't want to be accused of sub judice. But yes, it is true, the matter is before the Court of Appeal as we speak. We are yet to hear what the Court of Appeal will state about it. But I keep on saying that the courts are not blind to what happens in the open. When agitation is pushed and the court gets to note of it, that Kenyans do not want a particular legislation, most often than not, because judges are also human beings and they live in this society, they're also inclined to perhaps hold in respect of what the people are saying and where the people are in this in that particular issue. You can see now the consequence of the push that we had for the finance bill 2024. You could not blindly say that it did not have any effect in the matter in the manner in which the Court of Appeal has today decided the Finance Act of 2023. So the more we push, even in this issue of the seed sovereignty, the more policies will be formulated and the courts will also take note of it. So we must understand, and it has been submitted before, and I've also heard my friend Tony Gashoka submit about it, about the question of globalization and the global push to diminish our ability to satisfy our food needs. The question of the global agenda must be seen as, in my view, as a policy that KK government is pushing. Because KK government and its leader, they are just foster boys. And in my view, they are just flower girls holding brief for the West. The agenda is bigger because they want to create a unique and a dependency food market for us, for African states. So that if we are not able to govern our food granaries, then if you cannot govern your granary, you cannot even speak about your sovereignty. If you cannot feed your people, then how do you start speaking about the question of the power belonging to the people? So it's an agenda that must also be brought within the armpits of the agitations that we're also having, so that the people who make policies and be it the courts that makes determinations, they also take note of it. We are here to see and have an opportunity to urge that matter before the Court of Appeal. It has no date up to now. We will have to wait for the directions of the Court of Appeal. But perhaps allow me to ask my senior Eugene Wamalwa one question in respect to the fate of Azimio. Why are the affiliate parties still clinging to it? If the horse is dead, why have you not declared the horse dead? And why have you just been waiting for Mr. Raila Odinga to whip you people? Why have you not come out clearly to say that we are now barring Azimio, we look for another political outfit? I rest at that and land there, and I'll still remain available.
There's a question for you, Eugene, so you can answer that.
Thank you very much. I want to tell my learned friend that as he is aware, of all the constituent parties of Azimio, it's only one party that is engaged with William Ruto's administration. The rest of us have said tawe, like we say in Western Kenya. We have said no. And some, as you can see, like our learned senior Martha Karua and her party NARC Kenya have already initiated the divorce proceedings. So she's in the process of withdrawing. Tomorrow, our learned friend Peter Munya and his party PNU, they have their NEC, and consultations are going on to see whether we can agree with our colleagues in ODM that those who want to go to government, they should leave Azimio and join government. Those who want to stay in Azimio, our position is that we will not go into bed with Zakayo and his oppressive laws, his oppressive regime, and we will stand with the people, particularly our young people who have paid the price, the ultimate price, actually. And we cannot really be dining when our young people are dying for a cause, and we abandon the higher ideals they are fighting for deals with Zakayo. We cannot do that. That is our position. And if that will be what breaks Azimio, so be it. So you might be seeing in days to come some parties withdrawing or a position being given collectively about the future of Azimio. But for me and my house, DAPK, we stand with the people. Thank you.
Thank you, Eugene. Dr. Mombi? Dr. Mombi, you're muted in case you're trying to speak.
Oh my gosh, once again, yes. I've heard what Honorable Eugene Wamalwa has said, but I think for me, qua ground, the optics were wrong. And the entire political, because you see now, as you guys call him, Zakayo, he's created this image among the people that politicians lie and politicians can't be trusted. So even when we're told it's only one party out of the whole Azimio fraternity and stuff, to us on the ground, it's like the entire political class has betrayed us. And there has to be a really big move from the political class, from the opposition to assert themselves. If they are the majority, I mean, I don't know now, those are the internal party things, but yeah, the optics have been wrong. And I think just they've been caught up in their collateral damage to the ending of the political class, sadly. But that's my opinion.
Thank you, Dr. Mumbi. Is it really just merely the optics, or is it really that it's absolutely wrong if it's not serving Kenyans, right? Whatever is happening. Tony, over to you.
So that I talk on something else, I just want to thank Eugene for being here because, to be very honest, brief scoop, behind the scenes, I've been talking very deeply with my age mate and brother Eugene, and I have also been talking very closely to Kalonzo Musyoka about what Dr. Mumbi has just said, and Wakili, my brother Wakili, has raised, that they are looking very bad in the eyes of Kenyans, and that the time has come for them to take decisive action. So by coming to these spaces, I'm very happy that Eugene has come, because it's very hard to, because the public is very annoyed with the politicians, and unless you start engaging the public, they will never trust you again. Maybe this is a good step, but you can go back to Kalonzo and tell him what you're hearing in these spaces is things are very bad, and people don't want to have measures. You're either with the people or without. But I wanted to go to something different about Nane because of time. The country now is going to be asking the Kenya we are, the Kenya we want, and where do we go from here? And one of the reasons I am very motivated by the Nane call is because it reminds me about the march on Washington. that was conducted by Martin Luther King Jr. and the proponents then of the civil rights struggle in the US, it became a rallying call that brought over 1 million people to march on the Mall in Washington. And it became a pivotal point in the war for changing the United States. I'm saying this because, you know, in political emancipation or revolution, you have a war is there, but of course, war is a series of battles. Against Zakayo was the fighting of the finance bill. If you look at what that finance bill has done, it had to be withdrawn because of people pressure. But now, because of Omutata's work in court, the finance bill 2023 has also been defeated. And many can argue it was also defeated because then the public also rose against the finance bill 2023, as Eugene was saying. And therefore, this battle of the finance bill, which touches the economy, has been a success. Winston Churchill talked about the Battle of Britain when the UK and the German Air Force had the major battle. And historians say that the Battle of Britain changed the course of the World War II. And I think the defeat of both the Finance Act of 2024 and that of 2023 energizes the calls for Nane Nane, because the dynamics, whether ODM has gone to government or not, and whether we can push these other leaders of Asimio not to cooperate with Odinga will depend on people pressure. And the success of Nane Nane will have ramifications. It has already caused Zakayo trouble. It's causing a split in Azimio. It's causing a split in ODM. It means that the people power is working. So Nane Nane ought to be organized so that all Kenyans march on Nairobi from wherever they are. People need to bus, people need to travel, people need to find a way of getting to the capital so that we can have, you know, an act of force that can go into Kenya's history as the biggest day Kenyans can come together. And this will begin to re-energize our young people and everybody involved to have a goal that we can be able to achieve. So I would like to use these spaces to appeal and to actually say, look, we are halfway there. And if we are able to make one moral statement, because with this court ruling, it has re-emphasized that we were right on attacking the financial aspects of our struggle. And if we can on Nane Nane celebrate the fall of the 2023 bill plus the 2024 bill, we can be able to get back the momentum, answer Ruto's political reshuffle with people power, and be able to show Zakayo that he has gained nothing, and put Wamalos and Kalonzos of this world to join us so that if they're on the streets, the bullets might be less fired at our people.
So Tony is saying and stating that the politicians are taking some coffee in hotel rooms as they watch Kenyans getting killed on the street. That's interesting, Tony. I'll be holding you accountable to this if they don't show up on Nane Nane. But for now, I want to engage all the other speakers. And please, Eugene and the rest of the team, hold on as we want to hear what Kenyans think about the Kenya they want. Let's start with you, Web 3.0. What kind of a country do you want moving forward?
Thank you a lot, the host, for asking me that question. Am I audible?
You are. Kindly proceed.
Yes. So the Kenya I want, I'll just outline a quick Kenya I want. The Kenya I want is where I'm able to know how the money is being utilized, the government decisions are being made. I want to be able to see what they're doing behind the closed doors. I want to be able to see transparency everywhere. Basically, how much money do we have as reserves in the central bank, in our national coffers? How much of that money is flowing to which projects? Was the progress of those projects? And we are able to track that decision. Because I think the Kenya we want is a Kenya where our taxes work. It's not a Kenya where we are overtaxed and people under-deliver. We want a Kenya where the programs that are started for education continue to prosper and new ideas come in, and they come in at costs, not at cost and scale, not at overquoted prices. We want a Kenya where the healthcare system works, a Kenya where the emergency system works, a Kenya where the education system works and it's all transparent. We want a Kenya where we're able to know how much the president has spent this month on entertainment, on hosting. The national guest to the president shouldn't be a secret. I'm talking about a Kenya that is transparent. I want a Kenya that we know the MPs, the basically the motions they are working on in the parliament and the laws they are working on. We are very well aware and we are able to see that. And we are able to track this, and every Kenya is a participant in it. And with that, we can lay actually a foundation for a successful society. And the reason I propose such a Kenya, and I would love such a Kenya, is because one of the things is I've been in a forum where we've looked at really what the issues the Kenyans are raising. And I've realized what we keep doing is we raise the symptoms. But really, when you look to diagnose the problems that we are all facing, Ruto is a symptom. A malfunctioning democracy is a symptom. Malfunctioning parliament is a symptom. And a malfunctioning county system is a symptom. The base root of this is, as a self-critiquing Kenyan would do, is that I'm surrounded by dishonest men all over me. You look in my family, you look in the neighborhood, you look in the county level, you look at the national level. We just have a chain and a culture of dishonesty. So when a nation is looking to move forward and build the basic foundation, we gotta look at what are we building on. Because when we talk about impunity, when we talk about lack of accountability, when we talk about the national budget losing $1 trillion and yet we don't have solutions, it's because one of us knows majority of Kenyans are dishonest. So when we look towards this, the accountability will start with us, those around us, and educating them. So for us to be able to build accountability, it will take time, it will take education, because education is a key part of that. We have to use the churches, we have to use the forums we get to speak up about accountability. And part of the key thing, I think, that the forum that I'm working with and people so far that I'm looking in and are starting, because we even had the first conference on mitigating corruption and creating open and accountable systems, is we looked at technology. It sounds so cliche, but technology really could play 60% to 80% of enabling the activists, now those who already have the tools to hold government accountable. Imagine all this. We didn't have a mobile telephony system or even a landline system that was established in Kenya. But yet, because technology was advanced enough, we were able to skip the entire shenanigans and just come straight to the mobile system. Banking wasn't established well enough, yet with mobile money services and key M-Pesa, and that being able to scale, even a poor mama mboga doesn't need to be paying monthly maintenance fees for bank accounts, together with the innovation like the Equity Bank zero account, balance and zero maintenance fee. So when I talk about government, this is really a radical idea we are introducing. But so far, when you look even at white papers of governments across the world, especially when you look at, governments in Asia, you look at governments in Europe, you look at governments in the US are studying this really hard. And it's something we call basically a distributed ledger. So the key idea is simple. We cannot root out dishonesty men from society, but we need to create systems that if we switch in a good leader right now, the next 10 years, what comes after 10 years, 20 years? Will we get another dishonest man and a cabal of thugs in government who are no longer dishonest again? Then they regress us. Because I've seen this cycle in South America, in parts of Asia, where you get a very good leader, visionary government, they take the country forward. Then because the systems are not resilient, an idiot comes in and they just take the country backwards. And that's very distressing. So we gotta think about systems keenly. So when we have a distributed ledger, what this all mean is we have a national trust fund.
Web3, that is a sign that you need to learn, if you don't mind. Make the distribution ledger quick, and then we can be able to go to the next speaker. So I'll give you an extra minute, please.
Yeah, so the distributed ledger basically work to track all these things with a national trust account for collections and for distribution to each and every project. One of the key hurdles in this, and why we Atabona Wakili, we welcome you to the forum and also to send me materials. There's a lot of materials from Burial, from Jogona, from so many people I'm trying to aggregate so that the next series of the forum we're able to present a bigger aggregated ideas. We welcome the lawyers and also Mr. Eugene, we welcome you to our forum, Tony Gashoka to our forum, because we need people who already have access in government to understand the inner workings of the government and how we can start. But an idea is here and we have to create systems that are resilient to any single leader who makes bad decisions. Thank you.
Thank you, Bwana. Web3. So Web3 strategy makes absolute sense. I think we really need to have a whole entire space on that, to be honest. Let's have that as a space and a topic on its own because it's a big topic. And I love where you have taken us because now we are talking about we have rejected these bills. What do we want? That's what I would love to hear. Kenny, you've been very, very patient. So let's hear from you and then from Sir Joe, who's also been very patient, and then from June, and then, before June, Daniel, and then June, and then 254 in that order. I'm Kenny, and then Sir Joe.
Thank you, Brief Scoop. Am I audible?
Loud and clear. Go ahead.
Thank you. Fellow Kenyans, this is what I want for Kenya. I think the first thing we need to do is replace the executive and the legislature because they're incompetent. We've already been almost through 2 years of their existence in office, and they keep being issued red cards. Red cards from the judiciary, red cards from Gen Z, red cards from the opposition. We don't need to wait for any more red cards. They're incompetent. They need to be replaced, both the executive and the legislature. Secondly, whoever we replace them with needs to cancel all odious debt because it is illegal. We do not have to pay, and we must not pay, and we will not pay debts that people borrowed, yet we did not authorize them to. We must cancel all odious debt. That is the first mandate of the next government, the next executive, and the next legislature. The third thing we have to do is to recover all looted assets and funds, whether they are abroad or in the country. I don't care if it goes back to 1960 something, it needs to start happening and it must happen now. Personally, I am very mad because I have had to spend more than half my life as an economic exile. I do not want my kids to do the same. I love my country, I want to go live in it, and I cannot do that if people have hidden all the money abroad. Fourth, the next government must prosecute all the looters, put them in court, jail them, recover the money, prosecute, prosecute, prosecute. We cannot have progress without justice. So we have to prosecute not only the looters, but all those who have committed injustices like the extrajudicial killings. And we start now with the events of June 25th and going backwards. The last and final thing I want is a decentralized law enforcement in Kenya. The next government should put amendments that will decentralize law enforcement agencies like the police and the director of public prosecutions. We cannot have a situation where a court orders Matiang'i or whoever to go and arrest somebody and appear in court, and they do not do it because the police report to Matiang'i or whoever is the head of the police. We need to decentralize this so that if you're in the national government and you come and commit a crime in my county police, my county DPP will take you to court. This is what we need to do. And in that same regard, we also need to decentralize and delink functions of the IEBC from the executive. We cannot have a fox guarding the chicken house. Haiwezekani, no more of that. And last but not least, I want to make an appeal to Dr. Mumbi Seraki. I've been trying to reach you. I'll send you a DM. Please respond. Thank you all. Appreciate it.
Asante sana Amkeni. Amkeni is telling you all to Amkeni, Sisi Sote. Sergio, over to you. I will ask one thing though, because this comes up again and again about changing the individuals. Is it really enough? Sergio, as you submit, go ahead.
Good evening, Kenyans. Am I edible? I mean, Maniskia.
I hope not, but you are audible.
Exactly. Anyway, my information is what I want people to digest about. And
Speaking of edible,
I'm happy Eugene. I'm happy Eugene is here. And my question is, my very, very candid question is Eugene willing and ready to support the younger generation for the presidency?
that's your question. Okay, Eugene, I think
that is one question.
Oh, okay.
Secondly, the political class that is here listening all the way to the top, it has come to a time you need to visit the inner villages of this country. And people are really, really, really annoyed. I was sharing yesterday evening with Wakili Njiro, who happens to be my classmates and village mate also. And I told him, if Ruto thinks that Nane Nane is a joke, people are willing to walk to Nairobi. This evening, as I was passing by somewhere having maize choma, you hear the conversation, people are silently talking, pole pole hivi nasikia, you left wondering, is the president deaf, or is he not seeing Kenya? He's seeing his own planet. When people ask a question is to when we will pay this debt until when? A question from the old generation to the X, to us the millennials, to these kids, ambaye ana assume left, right, and center. When these students start asking, me, I applied for my ID, when will I get it? Since last year, I'm supposed to join uni. I'm supposed to do this. Yet these people come on these spaces and everywhere bringing stupid, silly excuses. Call them as they are. Oh, we are printing. Which citizen was to expire in his own country? You have an expiry date on an ID card. Since when? Kama ni pesa inatafutwa, that's a very cheap way. And it's really annoying, even right into the villages. To that Wanjiko whom you think haezi ona mbele, I can dare politicians to walk to the villages. They shall be whipped by those old men, because they are seeing a generation die. They are seeing, when they ask, tumepeleka watoto shule, wataishi nyumbani mpaka lini? Tunaona tu watoto wa matajiri na wakubwa wakipata makazi. Kwani sisi hatukufundisha watoto wetu? People with masters. How do you tell someone with a master's degree aende akaoshe nyanya mzee? Ama how do you tell somebody with a master's aende akuwe mbochi in Saudi? Simply because haezi pata kazi. Because of simple mismanagement of the country's resources. Which businessman doesn't know he owes who money? Nani ako na deni ya nani ama nani? What is so shameful that the president anafunikia nani? Anajifunikia yeye, anajifunikia the previous. Is Eugene ready to call people to accountability where accountability is required? Because you cannot be talking of odious debt. Pesa iko na watu, si tunawalipia. It is unfortunate. Kazi sisi tumeshindwa kufanya. People have closed businesses. It's painful. It's really painful, and these people, if that kind how he thinks this thing is a joke, it is not a joke. I'm in an industry where I've seen people being unable to pay school fees.
I think Brief Scoop, Sir Joe does
School
not
fees.
understand that the drum sets are supposed to have
Mtu ambaye hakuwa na
been
shida ya kulipa school fees anafunga na balance hii term, yeye ingine anafunga na balance. You are even left. Unaona mtu hakuwa na shida. It is so painful, and the Kenya I want is where everybody is equal. You get an opportunity, either you are a farmer, you have land that has minerals, you benefit from it, lakini si kuibiwa. It is painful.
Sir Joe, the drums were to give you your last minute, so please wind up.
I would want a very honest answer of all that from Eugene. Even if they are his friends, is he willing to call them out to the full? Is he willing? That's it.
Thank you.
Over to you.
Can you hear me, Brief Scoop? I seem to be having a
I
communication.
hear you. It appears that Sir Joe could not hear you, but I do hear you. Go ahead, Mizani.
All right. So this is what we're gonna do. We realize that a lot of you are requesting the mics, so I will beseech all our speakers who are coming in to try and make their point. I know you cannot have enough time to go through all the speakers, but we'll do our very best. June, I see your hand. Allow me to ask Eugene. There are very specific questions that have been directed to you. Are you willing to support the new generation as they aspire to make a change to the top of the office? And number two, there's the issue of calling out corruption and acting towards it. Are you willing to be that messenger?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Sure, we can hear you. Proceed.
Yes, I am, and I want to assure you that the events of recent weeks, particularly the last 1 month, has been like a shock therapy for many politicians. They might not tell you this, but they are all shaken, right from State House down to the ward, that MCA down there. They are all shaken, and they know that it will no longer be business as usual, and things have to change. So I want to assure you that I'll be your messenger, talking to my colleagues in the opposition, that we must be accountable to the people of the Republic of Kenya.
Thank you for the answer. Mizani, did you have a follow-up?
Yes, sure. He decided to ignore the part of supporting a candidature because he's a DAP party leader. I don't know what he thinks about, or is he planning to run again? Eugene?
Eugene, I think you're still
Yes.
being challenged. There's a question for you.
Can I take that one? Sorry, I was trying to be brief and I left a very important question. And I want to answer that straight up as one person who believes in the power of the young people and what they have to offer this nation. I think our politics has been a preserve of the rich and the elderly for a long time, but that is going to change. And we initiated this generational change agenda in the Kibaki administration when we were young ministers. I was Minister for Justice. William Ruto was Minister for Agriculture, and Uhuru Kenyatta was Minister for Finance. And we started the generational change vugu that was called G7. And indeed, after Kibaki, we had a younger generation, the Uhuru generation, coming in after Uhuru, Ruto, and I hope I will be next. And anyone younger than Ruto should be bold enough to go for it. So yes, I will be the first person to support a younger leader than William Ruto, a younger leader who has integrity, who believes in Dream Kenya, and who is ready to be accountable to the people of the Republic.
Haya, tutakungoja. brief scoop. Allow me to bring in June because we want to move the queue, if you don't mind. June, you have the mic. Kindly proceed. June, can you hear us?
Hi everyone.
Yes,
Yes, I can hear you. Eugene, we're waiting to see that because as the young people are accumulating for, is that all the old guards to go because you're all birds of the same feather. I can attest to it because I know all of you. And I know that it's just that sometimes you get a piece of the pie, sometimes you don't get a piece of the pie. And then that's when you accumulate for the rights of Kenyans. But in true sense, that is not truly who you are. To be a politician, by the way, you have to be an opportunist. And you have sought an opportunity here. I'm not going to support any of the old guards because I know even people like Martha Karua, very principled lady, brilliant, but she was the one accumulating for anarchy. Ruto in 2007. As they said, they are going to go forth. Liwe Liwalo, that time we're talking about 1,000 lives. Right now we're talking about 100, 200 lives. We don't even know the numbers. We talked of 65 lives, well documented. Yesterday we heard of another 50 from the mainstream media, and we know the mainstream media have been very very careful with the truth. That's neither here nor there. I'm here just to say a few things. I'm here to talk about, because I know I have very limited time, yes? So the hottest commodity in town right now, ladies and gentlemen, is food and water resources. Food and water resources have surpassed what we called weapons of mass destruction. That was a few years ago. They have accumulated that in the global world. We have talked about what the global agenda is. We have talked of oil resources. That one was done and dusted with. They have secured that. If you watch a show on called The Grab, very highly acclaimed journalist talking about what is needed in terms of these first world countries to gain what they need to gain to be first world countries. So it is food and water. Where do we get food and water? Food and water is gotten from countries like Asia, continent, sorry.
Definitely got cut off there.
Okay. It's okay.
Okay.
So let me
Okay,
just
you're back.
continue from where I'm saying. So
Yes,
there's
food and water,
yes,
continents
food and
like
water,
Asia.
yes. So we can only get this from a few continents, which is Asia and Africa, right? When we talk about housing, what are they trying to do with the housing agenda? They are trying to bring everybody to the city so that your farmland is accumulated to accumulate food for the West and the Saudi Arabias and all that. That's why we had this land tax. We are so keen on this housing agenda so that you all go to your kiberas. We stay in a 1-bedroom instead of staying in your mother's land and farming it, which might even be a better solution for you. They're trying to put you in a concentrated area so that you don't have access to your land. Because what we need now is land. They have everything. They have weapons of mass destruction. They have the resources. You have seen, I mean, this Gen Z have been so vocal. I don't need to repeat what they are saying in terms of how all our mining and manufacturing industries have been destroyed. Yeah? They want to destroy your basic rights.
I think we lost June.
Yeah, we.
Briscoe, can we move as we wait for that? But I think June is raising a very fundamental issue on these natural resources, except the oils that we know and gold we know about. That is land, that is farmland for that matter. And I was one concerned individual when a bigger chunk of Kiambu decided to convert into concrete, concrete land. And for me, that is a big issue because we want to have housing. And I'm wondering what we're going to eat. If we want to say we want to be fed with people from Limuru, that tells you a lot. And Limuru now, they are also selling or shelling off because they want to have their land to accommodate people who cannot live in Nairobi. So the rich kind, the likes of Akinandegu, after a nice litigation in office, they go buy in Limuru. No more farmland. Let's proceed to the next speaker. June, if you can hear me, I want to
I
give
can
you
hear
a
you.
minute.
Can you hear
Yes.
me?
Kindly take a minute, if you don't mind.
Okay.
June, we were letting you wind up. June, you're muted.
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we couldn't hear you. We were saying we were giving you 30 seconds to wind up, please.
Okay, let me wind up. So this is how a superpower will defeat a country like Kenya. Number one, they deny you education. You can see the price of education going very high. Health, you'll be denied health, and you'll be denied housing. So they want you to even go to these overseas jobs so that we decrease the number of youth who are acclimating for their rights. Your parents will deal with them. We'll give them land rates. We'll tell them, now you can't afford this land, go. Because they want to grow their food on your land and export it at very mediocre prices so that they can now feed their people. Trust you me, if you have all the gold, all the resources, all the weapons of mass destruction, yes,
I think
All right.
I think we got the gist of what June was saying. Let's move on to Daniel. But yes, very pertinent points. Daniel, please go ahead.
Good evening, everybody. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, you are. Please go ahead.
I have three questions. The first question goes to Mr. Eugene Wamalwa. Now, before the whole Gen Z demonstration started, a very vocal MP, Gagadhoni Wamoshomba, was fighting the finance bill. And in one of our forums, she stated that last year, when there were demonstrations, the government and the opposition got into bed together. And one of the agreement was that the Azimio was going to get CS slots from the government, and they were happening within the next 2 months. Before the president named his CS nomination, his CS candidates, the same day, early in the morning, Robert Alai tweeted that the current realignment are not because of the Gen Z movement, but because of the agreement the government had with the opposition. So my question for you, Eugene Wamalwa, is: are you aware of any agreement between the government and the opposition where CS were where the opposition was guaranteed several CS slots? Because I believe this is just a charade to kutufunga macho of some sort. This was something that was agreed last year. It has nothing to do with the whole Gen Z movement. So my question to you: are you aware of such agreement? The next question is, today I saw that the finance bill 2023 was declared unconstitutional. And it isn't the only bill or the only task that the government has done that has been declared unconstitutional by the courts. Is it that the government lacks a constitutional lawyer who is supposed to advise the government so that we do not have all these things that the government are doing and are being declared unconstitutional? Or they are being advised and they are choosing to mutilate the constitution? My last question goes to Lawyer Ndegwa, na naona wakili yako kwa this space. We have seen so many youths being killed actually in the few weeks because of the mandamanos. Now, the bodies that are supposed to hold the police responsible, the IPOAs, the police commissions, the bodies that are supposed to bring these people to book and hold them accountable, when they are failing to do their jobs, we are seeing money being looted in both national and in county government, when we have EACC failing to do their jobs, because nobody has ever been prosecuted, nobody has been, no money has been recovered. When we are seeing all these laws being broken, and the bodies, the institutions that are supposed to hold the government accountable, when they fail to do their jobs, either because of incompetency or they are compromised, where do Kenyans go to? Where do we turn to? Because it is unfair for the rest of the Kenyans that they are doing their best to pay taxes, they're doing their best to follow the rules of the land, but when you have the government breaking the rules and nobody is holding them accountable, they're doing pretty much whatever they want, it becomes unfair to the rest of us. So where do we turn to? Where do we go? What steps do we take? Because if it is mandamano, Kenyans have been on the streets, they are being killed. We are seeing bodies being recovered in Kware, in Nairobi, in Mukuru kwa Jenga. Those are Kenyans being killed. Yet, no, we are not seeing actionable, something tangible that the people who are responsible, they are being arrested, they are being sentenced and jailed, so that we can feel good that we have a fair country. Now, the question of this forum is, what kind of a country, what kind of a Kenya we want? I want to live in a Kenya where the rule of law is followed, that regardless of your position in the society, when you break the law, you will be held accountable. I want to live in a country where every Kenyan can get access to good positions within the government or in anywhere without necessarily knowing somebody or trading favors, sexual or otherwise. I want to live in a country where we don't have millions of Kenyans sleeping hungry because they do not eat, yet the people who represent them, the people who have been hired by the people to do their jobs, are living a lavish life. They're showing their opulence, walking around with clothes and shoes and watches of so much money. They're buying choppers, they're doing all of these things, they're showcasing the money they have. Yet we have Kenyans who are sleeping hungry actually, and those people are supposed to be representing us. I want to live in a Kenya where the political elites, their kids are attending public school as much as our kids are going to these public schools. I want to live in a Kenya where the political elites are attending public hospital when they get sick, or they can send their kids or their relatives to public hospital and not sending them abroad, because that is what they're subjecting us. So with that, I want kindly to request the host to allow Eugene and the Wakili to answer those questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel Muli. Pertinent questions, and yes, the Kenya we want. We are not just against taxes. We are not just against the finance bill. There are things that Kenyans want. We want progressive taxation, not regressive taxation, right? Kenyans want to be able to get education that is free at point of use. That does not mean free education. It means that it's free at point of use because we've already paid for it with our taxes. Same with healthcare. Eugene, Wakili, I think the question is for you, and maybe Tony as well. You can jump in here, and then we'll go to other speakers.
Thank you. Can I go first?
Yeah, yes, please, Eugene, go ahead.
Yeah, I think the first two questions, one, I can tell you that the Gen Z pressure is what brought Zakayo down. If you noticed the 25th of June, after that event, when Zakayo addressed the nation, he was still a very angry man. He was still, he hadn't come to terms with the reality. But when he made a subsequent address, and when the Gen Zs pressurized him to go to space, that was a different Zakayo. He was a humbled man. And that is how he was pushed to give in. The Zakayo of last year, when we did our demos against Finance Bill 2023, was a very arrogant man. He's the one who summoned all the MPs to State House and said, not even a comma. And he told us off, with a lot of arrogance, at Bomas, those who represented him were not talking to us. They were not talking with us. They were talking at us. The arrogance was there, and nothing could be agreed on the cost of living and the high taxation. They were overconfident. Why? Because they had already cannibalized the opposition. They started by cannibalizing Jubilee. They took over 25 members of parliament to their side. They took UDM. All these were Azmio members of parliament. They created an artificial majority in parliament. And that is what gave them the false sense of security and that bred the arrogance that led to bloodshed in Kenya. Never did we at any time discuss about positions. They didn't need us. But the Gen Z pressure brought them to the table. So I want to tell you that that is the position. And even when it came to now the talks about accommodating the opposition, the offer was not made to Azmio. As I said, we have many parties in Azmio. No offer has been made to me as Eugene Wamalwa or to Kalonzo, he has said it, or to Karua or to Kioni. Or it was made to ODM. They accepted it. And I think they have made their changes today with those nominees now resigning from ODM to serve Zakayo's government. For us, we have said there are only two sides, Zakayo's side or the people's side. We will stand with the people. That is where we stand.
Thank you, Bwana Eugene. So I think you're revealing here that no offers have been made to you. I can't help wondering then, if the offer is made, will we be singing a different tune?
Not at all. We already made our announcement that we are not interested. Even if the offer was made to us, we will. We took our stand that we will not partake of the spoils. You know, when you look at what happened, I think for the young people, they were like, if it is hunting, the young people had actually chased the antelope. They were almost getting it. Now, for the elders to take the antelope and share, and not even throw a rib. Not one Gen Z was given a position in the new cabinet. I thought it's a very, very unacceptable status, and we will not be party to it.
Thank you, Bwana Eugene. Go ahead, Wakil.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. These are very, again, engaging exercise where we are trying to think of what do we do, what Kenya do we want, how do we achieve that Kenya, and are we living in a country that has embraced functionality of institutions, and what we do in the event where institutions that we have established fails Kenyans. I must begin by saying that the 2010 Constitution is one of the best documents that a country can never pledge to itself. But unfortunately, we are being led by an individual who has never ever read this Constitution. Remember, these individuals purporting to leaders opposed the 2010 Constitution. So I have always believed that he swore to defend a document that he has never read. And it is evident, clear, that he doesn't know the content of this document. Otherwise, he would not be acting towards curtailing the rights of individuals or the freedoms of individuals under Article 37. It is because Mr. William Ruto does not appreciate the content of Article 37, that is why he's using all brutal means of suppressing the same. And you can see he has even suppressed institutions that are supposed to come in and act in the event where atrocities are committed. It is not true that we are helpless. It is not true that we do not have an alternative. The same Constitution has created an avenue, and Article 2, which provides that international law and instruments of conventions and covenants are applicable in the Republic of Kenya. It has further created, and under Article 145, that even a president, though immune from municipal application of civil and criminal law, if he commits atrocities that meets international standards, like the ones in the Rome Statute, or genocide, or crimes against humanity, or crimes of aggression, or war crimes, he's not immune. And fortunately, Kenya being a signatory to the ICC statute, it's a high time that we begin to invite the prosecutor to open investigations into the situation existing in the Republic of Kenya. We have seen the IPOA attempting to investigate. The DPP has declined to take in that evidence on very flimsy reasons that it cannot see the complainants, that the investigations are not conclusive. But the question is, how do you expect police to investigate themselves when they are the perpetrators of these atrocities? Last week, Mount Kenya jurist, to which I head as their chairman, did write to the United Nations Special Office, inviting them to come and open investigations or to send a UN rapporteur to come and observe the situations unfolding in the Republic of Kenya. In my view, if you try to look at what is happening and juxtapose the same to the provisions of the Rome Statute, you would not fail to get somebody who is culpable and responsible for it. It is not true that we can lose life in the manner in which we are losing life and nobody is held to account. It is not possible in a civilized nation like this one of ours and living in a community of nations that atrocities can be committed and the world shuts its eyes. It's on that reason Martin Luther King then was saying that he was not surprised by the noise that was being made by the enemies, but the silence of their friends Wanjiru shall be on the streets marching for freedom, streets marching for freedom, freedom
this day. And it is almost like the final push. This one won't end. Happy with today's conversation, especially the fact
origin of democracy, and that solutions are for everyone who wishes well marches and demonstrations, but they are not necessarily answered in the critical political questions which are required to actually address what Zakayo is doing. I raise this because in the Constitution under Chapter 4, Kenya is a multi-party democracy, and one of the reasons we fought for the expansion of Section 2A was to create a competitive political environment so that the opposition is opposing the government for a better government. And now that Ruto has got into the business of buying opposition parties and buying opposition MPs, the Gen Z-led revolution is filling the shoes of opposition. And they need to utilize the few who are left in the opposition benches so that they have a voice in parliament, they have a voice in the MCA, they have a voice wherever they are good people. Those voices can only help in creating a resistance that can be able to lay a blow on Zakayo. So I'm asking, as we are looking for Nane Nane, we remember how Sabasaba happened. Sabasaba was an amalgamation of so many interests, but people came in their individual capacity. Reverend Timothy Joya was there and played a critical role, but he didn't come as a church, he came as Joya. And there were many who played their role in that movement that became a national iconic movement that brought the second liberation of Kenya. And therefore, I'm calling upon Nane Nane to allow or to become a magnet that brings all Kenyans who are willing to stand against Zakayo, to feel welcome and to be able to participate with their children, to be able to participate with the Gen Z, all of them in a carnival which can be able to become a catalyst like we saw in Venezuela or elsewhere when all the people of Kenya are united. I would like to land there, and I would like to end by, thanking my brother Eugene for braving, it's difficult to come out here as a politician, but asante kwa kuja. I also want to thank the host and everybody because I will not be speaking again. And I also want to thank the girls, Dr. Mumbi and Mwikali, and all of the other contributors who have made this space so interesting. And good night.
Asante sana, Tony. Let's hear from Anthony. You've been waiting for a while. And guys, just be patient. I'm having tech issues. We lost our co-host. He couldn't hear and he couldn't unmic. But go ahead. So just bear with me. I'm literally trying to add everybody who's requesting as we circulate. Go ahead, Tony.
Thank you, Brief Scoop. Thank you, Mizani. Actually, I was to join the space when I got your invite, but I was on another space convincing the Gen Zs on what Tony Gashoka has very well put. And they asked me one question. So, Tony, why are you advocating for a political formation? And my answer was very simple to them. When the slaves who used to pick cotton understood that the only way to freedom was to be part of the people who write the laws, that's when they became free. Because they understood it's only by enacting laws and legislation that they shall gain true freedom. They could not fight the oppressor or demonstrate all through. I'm not against the demonstration. No, not at all. I'm for them. But as Tony has put it, if today on Nane Nane we go and William Samoei Ruto says, I've heard your cries and I'm out, we shall have fought the battle, but we cannot enjoy the spoils. Why? Because within 90 days, the Gen Z movement will not have formed a political party, will not have done the grassroots. And that is why on every space I get, I tell them a good war is fought on all fronts, by air, by sea, and by land. We cannot fight this battle that we are in today of a better Kenya, the Kenya that Wakili Ndegwa is talking about, the dreams that David has very well talked about here. We cannot fight for that Kenya and expect this government to deliver it. We must bring ourselves to terms that maybe they don't know how to, and we are the only ones who can deliver that Kenya to ourselves. That is why I do not waste my time on lecturing the President, William Ruto. Maybe he does not understand the Kenya I want because he cannot formulate it in his head. But since I understand the Kenya I want, to everyone on this space, I believe that we, the Gen Zs and the millennials and the Gen Xs, can form a government for the people, by the people, and we can fully implement this constitution that we so very well gave ourselves. We cannot spend all our days pointing fingers and not saying that we can. When you talk to, as I finish, when you talk to the Gen Zs, they say if you prop a leader, he'll be bribed, he'll be bought off. Why do we not believe in ourselves that we can have a leader who stands for the ideals and the principles that we're in the streets for? So we believe so much that we are fighting on the streets, but we don't believe we can lead ourselves. Martin Luther King died at the age of 32 years. He had won the Nobel Peace Prize. He was on the way to Congress. Barack Obama became president at 45 years and 5 months. I Googled it. So the Kenya we want can be led by us. Today, if you look at the National Assembly, the Assembly of the UK, members of parliament are as young as 26. That is what we need to be telling these Gen Zs, that they can fight for a country, but they can equally govern that country. Governance does not come with age. It comes with a set of ideals and beliefs that you can govern a people without stealing from them, that you can build a hospital without taking a kickback, that you can build a road in your constituency without asking for a kickback, because we understand that service to the people is service to God. And lastly, to finish, for the first time in the history of this country, we have a movement that is tribeless by every meaning of that word. We don't look at our tribes, but we look at the Kenya we want. So as we encourage and give ourselves hope, as we go to Nane Nane, let us also ignite the faith that we can lead this country. Thank you.
Thank you, Bwana Anthony. I hope, Mizani, we can hear you this time. I actually got kicked out of the space and I managed to get back somehow. Mizani.
I don't know. I almost asked, are we having problems because KOT is here? Because this guy has been ruffling the wrong people all the time. I hope you're not the problem and we are not part of your problem. But thank you for joining the call. You guys, if you can hear me, I apologize to all the speakers. We were struggling to maintain the space, but hopefully we are back on. I have heard with a lot of passion that Anthony is asking us for what next, and talking about even if we were to say Zakayo Ameshuka, 90 days will not constitute a political party. So the question therefore is, how do we get there? It's okay to mention all the things we're mentioning, but how do we get there? It's equally important. I want to give Anna an opportunity. Anna, if you can hear us, we are discussing the Kenya we want. What next for this country moving forward? Anna, the mic is yours.
Thank you very much. Brief scope for Mizani, everybody who contributed. Guys, you'll bear with me. Let me start with the last words. Let me pick up from where Anthony left. Anthony said we need to believe in somebody and believe that that person can do what we want, or he can put to action what the vision that we have. So I have one problem with that. My problem is, why do I need to believe in anybody or disbelieve in anybody? For me, what I want to see is a system that would make everybody do what is right. Because asking me to put my faith in somebody, in a person, in today's world, it's realistically speaking, I do not believe in people. I believe in systems. So saying that we need to believe in somebody, we need to believe in, no. For me, I need to believe in a system that is going to deliver for the many and not the few. And I'm always using that line. But coming back to my thoughts, to be honest, Brief Scope, Mizani, and all Kenyans in the space, what is the next? For me, it's very simple. We can actually focus on the cosmetics of the matter, or we can focus on using this fancy words and throwing things. I'm not a somebody who on the financial. I think Brief Scoop is better suited in that field. I'm not somebody who is from the farming community, but the little knowledge that I have tells me that things are not working. It's not about individual. It could start as with an individual that is rooted to go and is all entourage. But bottom line is, Mizani, I cannot get past that. I want us to fix the system. What is wrong with this system? Change the tap if we need to change that tap that is leaking. So I do not have to say, oh, I need to put a bucket or I need to put a band-aid on this leaking tap so it stops leaking. Or it's not leaking as much now; it's dribbling. So I think we can withhold that. For me, fundamentally, that's what it is. But if I can come back and request everybody for one thing, everybody specializes in one thing. Beginning of this revolution, uh, there were a group of people who volunteered to actually write in a layman's language what it meant, what that bill meant, what it said, and how it would affect each and every one of us down to the last person. So, what I would want is those groups to be still working, whether you're on the farming section, whether you're on the finance section, whether you're on whatever section you're in, expertise. What I would love to see is actually these people looking at this, whatever is there fundamentally now, and saying this is how we need to change this sector in order for us to achieve A, B, C, D. And I think we've a little bit lost focus on that section. For me, there is one thing that really it boils down to one thing. Everybody would it might vary on, you might live on a mansion or you might live on nyumba ya makuti, but at the end of the day, everybody is struggling for fundamentally basic need. That is for you to get shelter, food, and for the kids to get education and health. Now, if you look at those sectors, we need to dismantle those sectors. We need people to write reports. I'll land. Bear with me. I've been put on mute for weeks. We need to focus on those main sectors, and people write
Umesikia watu
reports.
wanasema they have
Looking
been put on hold for weeks, na mimi ninaingianga tu hivyo nikiwa nimepewa mic.
No, Mrs. Onge, for weeks I've been having problem with my line. Not that anybody is refusing me the mic, Pole. So we need to focus on those. Somebody like Mkenya is in the technology sector. He needs to see how that can be improved to have, transparency on the system within our government, how we can improve to go on a portal where we can see how much is this senator getting, how much is this MP getting, how much is that county getting, how much they're spending, where they're getting the expenditure, what are they applying for, and etc. etc. I will land with this, Mizani Polisan. I will land with this. There is one thing that really worries me, and we've been doing, I don't know if Briscoe, Mizani, remember, we've been doing this about farming sector. And fundamentally, a nation that cannot provide 90% of its food, that food that comes to your dinner table, look at it and see how much of it you have produced. If 70% and above you've not produced it, then we have a problem. A nation that cannot feed its people is a failed nation. We have to go back and empower those modern farming. We have to go back and say we need to be able to store our seeds, not to be told that you cannot exchange seeds. We don't want to wait for seeds coming from California, America, and now they control your food. You're doing the farming, but you don't have the seeds. So who controls you? That's all. I'll land there for now. Thank you.
Anna, if I was a singer, I would have said, Baba ni mzalendo, mimi ni mkulima. I don't know how those lyrics go by, but thank you for making that issue of the seed and how our food on the table, where it comes from. Now, I know, gentlemen, ladies, we really have a long queue waiting. Ivy, Sonia, the mic is yours.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
You loud and clear. Proceed.
Okay. So the Kenya I want a Kenya where the law actually works, where basic needs are prioritized. Hakuna venye we can be talking about climate change, technology. Yes, I understand these things are important, but there are people who are hungry. There are places where we don't have electricity, places that don't have water. As I saw like the story of Burkina Faso wakati the ambassador wa US ama ni UK alienda kuambia, oh guys, we have a plan, we're gonna build schools for you and clinic, and the prime minister told them, no thank you, but our priority is only security. We need to ensure our people survive first. As a country we have to have a priority. See, mara leo ni wifi, kesho ni barabara. It doesn't work like that. I want a country where we fully enter into industrialization. You know, I think tulitoka stone age tukaruka tech space. And when my mom usually tells me of how life was kitambo, where kulikuanga na like a company that was manufacturing insecticides, and farmers farmers walikuwa wanapanda pyrethrum and they will take to this company, you know. Kulikuwa na milk collection points za wakulima, maziwa inaenda KICC, you know, Mountex. But sahi, all these industries, I think it's deliberate. These industries zinaangushwa deliberately, and people, kwani where are people gonna get employment if we don't improve our industries? Tunaona Mumias every time inaangushwa. That investor Rai alifukuzwa. I don't know how that sugar company functions. So and also I know somebody in the UK, and maybe people who are abroad can confirm. Aliniambia our government works. Our government works because wanajua if they don't, people are gonna die. Uko majuu, they have winter. And if the government doesn't work, na uko crops don't grow during winter, the government has to ensure these people have food. The government has to ensure these people have electricity. Because without these heaters, the government is gonna die. Imagine if we had winter as Africans. Tungekuwa tumeisha because of this system we have. So my question also is about the police, our this police force. What are we gonna do about them? Because nane lazima tutoke. Nane lazima tutoke. And I support the political party, not like a political party, but a liberation party, where everybody works together for a greater good. And this excerpt, we can see people wamejitolea. We can see Nelson with the JKIA story. And by the way, the President Ruto announced that 47 parastatals are gonna be privatized. I don't know if you guys can remember that speech. And then we see JKIA story, and he didn't mention, and the 47 is such a specific number, right? 47 is such, so like you have to know which companies you're gonna privatize. And then we saw Badai JKIA story, and then today saw 6 other companies have been listed in NSC. I saw, sorry, I'm winding up. I saw a certain YouTube video this weekend by Willis Otieno and Lynn Ngugi, akisema these processes, these things that are happening in Kenya, including the IMF loan, they are all illegal, and we can declare them unconstitutional, and all these processes, easy companies zote zinafanywa privatization, because the parliament, the people have to approve all these loans that have been taken, both domestic and international. The people have to approve. It's the law, the privatization of these companies, the people have to approve. So I honestly want to call the lawyers to just fight for us, for people who don't really know the law quite well, and may inform us. Anyway, you guys have a good night, and I enjoyed this space.
Asante sana, Ivy. I love your submissions. Mizani, I'm restraining myself because we have Wakili Ndegwa in here, and there's a hell of a lot that there's a hell of a lot of blame to go around. The politicians have mostly we don't have them on the space anymore, but there's a lot of blame to go around, including professions such as lawyers, the economists in Kenya, the libertarian economists, right-wing economists, who've essentially been shilling for American corporations. And I see chief economist here, so I'll be putting you on the spot. But Mizani, you have your hand up, so go ahead and then call on the other people if you've been paying attention. If you haven't,
today I'm being
can.
the bad cop in all the space. I really want to move the queue, and I see hundreds of requests, but we might not really get to each and every one of you. So kindly pardon us. I want to call the next speaker to come and speak to us. If you can maximize on 3 minutes, we'll appreciate. Chief Economist, you've been waiting.
Thank you, Mizani, and thank you, Brief Scoop, for the space. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. I know we are in different time zones. So my submission is a very humble one, and I wish maybe to start on something that one of the panelists said about leaders in Gen Z. And I personally think that that is a bit misplaced, because what we are pushing for is not for political positions. We are pushing for change in ideology. We need our leaders to change ideology. And it does not mean that Gen Z, we have to lead from all the way from president all the way to the chief level to make sure that things work. We need things to work with each and every individual that goes to any seat or pursues any servant position. Moving ahead, the Kenya we want. I personally believe that our economy is basically our pain point. And we have really talked a lot about mismanagement of funds. We have talked a lot about corruption. And we have also talked about debt. And actually, this whole movement came out of the pains about the finance bill. And today, as you've seen, the illegitimacy of this government, the finance bill for last year was brought down by the court. So we currently don't have any finance bill ongoing. So we really need to check our source of growth as a country. And I personally believe this is what this government is not looking at. What really makes our economy to grow? Because most of the things that this government is concentrating on are basically sideshows or symptoms. So we really need to check on, first of all, corruption. Secondly, we need to check on this SME industry. And this government came in with the idea that it is going to upgrade mamambogas, upgrade boda people. But basically, this is not what we are seeing. We are seeing a completely different thing. And in terms of even the financing that is coming in from World Bank and the Eurobonds, this financing is not being used to finance projects that will basically uplift the people. And if you remember, back in 2017, 2018,
Economist,
we had...
You understand, as a chief economist, 3 minutes mean that.
How far am I?
You are way overboard. I was hoping you'd get into it, but you took us to a history class.
Let me just land. You remember the miracle, the economic miracle of Ghana? And this economic miracle was basically out of the oil industry that was growing, and even the cocoa industry. But these people went ahead and picked a lot of loans that led them to defaulting in 2023. And this is actually where our country is right now. But what Ghana did, it did not continue paying the debts. It recalled the debts and requested for restructure. So these are the things that this government needs to see. And moving forward, we really need to check on how is the debt being used? Which projects is the debt financing? Because we'll end up in the same position that Ghana currently is in. A country that was growing, but its dreams have been shattered by the debt that they took back in 2023. So, Nane, we are moving forward and we need to liberate this nation. We are not looking for seats. We are looking for a change in ideology. Thank you, Mizani.
But Chief Economist, I have a couple of questions for you because I have a number of theories. One is that our government does not have enough of a tax base to tax from. And that is partly, in very huge part, the fact that we don't have living wages. So the wages that people have simply can't even support themselves, let alone support a treasury with income taxes. And secondly, we don't control our commodity prices. What is your, because Western libertarian vulture capitalist economics, as it is taught, tells us that we cannot increase labor costs because it's too heavy of a burden. But in fact, that's how the West grew when the labor movement succeeded in having living wages. What say you? Chief Economist, you're muted.
Yes. You've raised a very, very important question. And I can tell you that basically our main issue is even the consumption of the nation. Majority of the consumption is basically the government takes a very, very huge part of this economy. And if we really need to move forward, we need to liberate consumption. For example, if you check in terms of now spending, our government really spends a lot of money. Now, the issue is this money is not basically being spent on the right projects. Because if you spend this money on the right projects, this money will basically sort of create income avenues. For example, the government took a lot of loans, majorly from the World Bank, and they financed projects in the Moya irrigation scheme. But the projects they financed were not basically, they didn't give avenues for growth of income. They financed fighting birds, you see? And if you are looking at, for example, the Moya irrigation, you need to look at the main issues of the seasonality of the rivers. Now, something else, if you check government appropriation in aid, come to something like e-citizen. E-citizen earns a mere 300 million per financial year. So this means that e-citizen is being plagued with a lot of corruption and a lot of mismanagement. So these are all avenues that we need to check if we need to grow this economy. And the government cannot
you know
be
what,
a major.
Economist, I thought that you might have a short answer for me, but I think what you're highlighting is that we really just need to do a space. So let's do a space specifically on economic questions, and we'll have you as a panelist because I have so many questions, and I think we should do the same, Bwana Ndegwa, on legal questions. Bizani, go ahead. I'm sorry to cut you short, Chief Economist. I just don't think we have time to cover it as we are trying to close.
I think if I had the economist as my advisor, I'll be very happy. He'll have a lot of money. He knows how to spend it. Thank you, economist, for that. Time is money, and we do appreciate you coming on board. Ndegwa, before you leave, I know you have to represent some clients maybe tomorrow. Do you have any specifics on the Nane conversation? Because Kenyans have said everything they can on these spaces. From the legal perspective, ndio Zakayo atashuka, ndio ataenda, hopefully. But then what, Ndegwa?
First of all, what we must all agree on is that we're in a struggle, and you've all committed to the struggle until at such a time when we shall hold the mark of victory. At the moment, we'll just have to let things flow within the four corners of the Constitution. We are hoping that on Nane we'll be able to apply pressure until Zakayo resigns. But if when he resigns, he must also resign together with his Gashagwa. We do not want to have a situation whereby we are jumping from the fire to from the flying pan to the fire. So a call must be placed that the entire presidency that we want home. If he does resign, then the constitutional timelines will begin to run. That is the 60 days where Papa wa Roma will hold brief for presidency, subsequent to which an election will have to ensue. But he may not also, he may decline to resign. The other legal avenue that is now currently pending before court, and we are in court today, is the constitutional petition that is asking the High Court to declare that a president can be removed through a referendum. It's a very interesting petition because the issues we are raising in court is that in the event where parliament fails and negates in its duties to represent the people, in the event where parliament fails to abide by the sovereignty of the people, are people so hopeless that they have no alternative? We're asking the High Court to declare that other than the constitutional tool of elections, a tool of referendum can be a constitutional means through which a change of government can be effected. We have very many interested people who are coming on board, and we are keeping on inviting people and advising them to come on board from all corners and all angles, from professional bodies to amicus curiae and any person who has an idea, because the more the merrier. We have pro bono legal services being offered. We have lawyers if professional groups want to join in the suit. We have pro bono lawyers who want to represent any person who may be willing to join, so that at least we may give some impetus into the push that is happening, so that as we push from the streets, we are also pushing from court so that we can have these declarations. I heard Zakayo mention about that particular petition. It tells you that he's not taking it lightly. We are yet to see his response because we have cited him in person. We have equally cited Mr. Gashagwa in person. We are yet to see their response. They haven't responded to that particular petition. But we are using all those particular tools. In the event that particular tool also fails, we must not also forget that we are not desperate, that come 8th of August 2027, again an opportunity will be offered to Kenyans through which they will be granted an opportunity to determine the course in which they want to be governed. But we have a very serious legal handle there, that the majority of the people who are potential voters at the moment have no IDs. And then we are saying that we should also have a clamor. It's either you give us the IDs or we shall also have no elections. Because we cannot walk ourselves into the gallows, whereby we are just following, just like a sheep following the butcher to the abattoir. We are insisting that IDs must be provided, failure to which will also have no elections. Elections have to abort until IDs are afforded to any person who is above the age of majority to have the ability and the capacity to vote. So Zakayo must be told in uncertain terms that it is not a favor that we are seeking from him to give IDs to Kenyans. It's a right that is guaranteed to them under Article 11 of the Constitution that speaks about the rights and the duties of a citizen. Thank you very much, host. I'm greatly humbled for the opportunity you've given me to interact with various participants. I'm greatly humbled, and I wish to rest my case at that. And good night.
Thank you very much, Wakili Ndegwa. And I must say, I have seen you do a lot of good job, but the most memorable one was when you were appealing during the presidential, would I say, conversation about who won or did not win. And for that,
Yes.
We give you your flowers.
Thank you very much.
However, and that you might mute your mic if you don't mind. What I find disturbing is Kenyans want to become voters, and that is the Gen Zs who haven't registered yet. You also want ID cards. On the other day, you refused. You even told the courts hatutaki hiyo vitu ya maisha card. Kioti, what is your problem? Go ahead.
Oh, I have no problem, but of course, I wanted to say something. So, guys, personally, I haven't mastered the Queen's language, but I try to communicate in the Queen's language for the sake of those guys in diaspora. So, personally, I wanted to get this mic when Eugene Wamalo was here. Eugene Wamalo comes from Tansoya. Yeah, he was born in Kimilili constituency in socio ward. So I wanted to inject a poisonous pen in him because he's also a politician, and he has been here trying to juggle around with the questions. But personally, I felt like all these politicians are liars. Yeah, as you can see today, Zakayo said that he distributed the Wi-Fi across across the country, and it is free. So I wanted to question Eugene if in Transoya they have free Wi-Fi, and also try to reach out to people from Shinyalu in Kakamega County to question them if they have Wi-Fi, free Wi-Fi, of course. But you all know the answer. Even some parts of Nairobi, they don't have Wi-Fi. If I'm lying to you, go and do a research in Kibra constituency. You'll bring us the answers here. So these the political class, they're all liars. They come here with they come here with a sweet tongue. They try to talk to us. So I wanted to tell Eugene that if indeed he's in for this movement, then on 8th next month, yeah, the next month begins in the next few minutes. Those who are in Kenya, I wanted him to come on the streets, yeah, with Akina Martha, Akina Kalonzo, because now we are Gen Zote, we are not only Gen Z, meaning even them who are the Gen X are also invited in this, because we are all in this as the nation, yeah. And of course, I wanted to question him that if he was given a position as the cabinet secretary, let me say the mining position where Joho, who has no certificate even for Form 4, was given, would he deny that position? I wanted to ask him that question. But anyway, guys, when you are here, I want you all to come out in large numbers on 8th. Yeah, I've been trying to mobilize people across the counties that I know. From Bungoma County, I was in Mombasa the other day. I tried to meet some few individuals, and of course, I'm going to sort them out so that before 8th, they should be in Nairobi. So guys, whenever you are here, even the NIS who are here, we are asking you to come out in large numbers on 8th, yeah? So that we can march in unity and redeem this country, because we are living as the refugees in our own country, yeah? The political class, you can imagine how many politicians are we having in this country? How many leaders are we having in this country? The minimum pay they are receiving is about 400,000. That's for MCA, because they still are large apart from what they are receiving as the salary. So just do a calculation and see how much are we paying them in a month. It's even more than a trillion, because we have so many shadow workers in those ministries. We have many shadow workers in the counties. I just can't explain. So guys, I feel like on 8th, regardless of your gender, regardless of your religion, regardless of your color, let us turn out in large numbers, yeah? Because we have been talking about the minerals, we have been talking about the bad leadership, we have been talking about all those things that we feel like they are oppressive to us. But now, the only thing we need to do is to march on 8th. So guys, all those speakers, all those listeners, the host, kindly, on 8th, I feel like we should have no space. We should have nothing going on but march in Nairobi CBD. So, up to you, Mizani. I saw you are dropping. you are fearing, but of course, here. So this was what I wanted to try to see how I can communicate.
Tumekupoteza at the end. KOT Sonko wamekupata ni kama
Beef scoop.
Huyo KOT atolewe hapa, amefanya scene that I cannot control the space. KOT, go create a pseudo account. You are a person and an enemy of the state. But anyway, I hope you guys can hear me because I lost KOT at one point. And I think the questions he's raising are very, very serious questions. As we move forward, we cannot ignore them. I know, Tribeless, you've been waiting to speak, but allow me to bring in Dr. Milton. He's been equally trying to connect to the call for such a long time. Dr. Milton, if you can hear us, good evening to you. Good afternoon. I hope you're doing well. You successfully decided to fight for Kenya and made sure somebody called Nick Mwendwa will not be close to FKF, but that is not part of the conversation tonight. However, where do you want us to go next as a country? Dr. Milton.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to be able to address, and I take it with a lot of humility and magnanimity, the recognition of the efforts that we are putting in to ensure that we enhance accountability in the public institutions and those in whose hands public authorities entrusted are acting in accordance to the expectations of the rule of law. Having said that, I want to thank everybody that is taking their time to be on, burning the midnight oil, and all this in the name of ensuring that our country gets the governance that it deserves. And I also want to pay tribute to our fallen heroes, the comrades that paid the ultimate price on June 25th, and since the revolution began, and who we must continue to remember and say their names because they have etched themselves in the history of our struggle for liberation and freedom. I know it is a straight question about where do we want to see the country move to, and it is very simple. For me, the dreams and aspirations of this movement is to see a country where, in the words of famous people who have gone before us, a country where there is equity, there is equality, there is freedom and fairness, all guaranteed in letter and in spirit. So, what does that mean? It means that we must be able to rise up against a people whose privilege to serve is now mistaken for an opportunity to rule over a people. And that is what the administration of William Ruto has tried to do. And I am eternally grateful that the Gen Zs finally led the way, and the rest of us who have been tolerant to this are now following. So, William Ruto was never ready to govern, and today it has been confirmed that we are now back to Uhuru's last budget in 2021-22, because William Ruto's first budget has been unconstitutional. It has been so declared. It has been confirmed by the Court of Appeal. That confirms what we said immediately he was sworn in. What we need to do is to see comrades being steadfast and continuing in this fight and making sure that Nane Nane succeeds. Upon the success of Nane Nane and William Ruto and his cartels vacating office, I want to believe, and I say what I said earlier on, that leaders and leadership will emerge. Leadership is about focus, is about vision, is about inspiring a people to believe in that vision and to work towards it. Now, the reason we must continue to be leaderless in is because the cartels are looking for our leaders and by our, I'm referring to Gen Zs and millennials, so that they can look for those people and compromise them. And when they realize they cannot compromise them, they will then blackmail them and intimidate them and thereby break the movement. So we must continue to do this the way we are doing it. And as we do it, we also need to have strategic ideas. And I know there is no poverty of that. Wakili Ndegwa and many others in this platform will tell you that people are not sleeping, people are always thinking about what next. The what next is clear. Leadership will emerge. We will continue to fight for justice in the courts because that is our recourse, and that is what will keep Zakayo and his cartel of criminals busy. And as we fight in the rule for the rule of the law through the courts of justice, we also want to make sure that our people are coming out on Nane Nane to send William Ruto home. I want to also mobilize the diaspora. I know there are many people from the diaspora who are also been asking, and many of those who are back home in Kenya are asking, what are diaspora people doing? We've seen protests in Washington, D.C., we've seen in London, we saw in Dublin, and people in diaspora are also doing their part. But I want to introduce a new concept to this process by the people in diaspora. We have remittances from the diaspora amounting to between 20 and 25 billion shillings a month when do you do the conversion at the current dollar rate. That is enormous. That money is going into paying school fees. That money is going into paying for healthcare. That money is going into feeding families. That money is going into supporting payment of rent and the general living expenses of their family members who are back home. Now, that is a significant contribution or injection of liquidity to the economy. I want to call upon the diaspora that next week from Sunday, or this could even start tomorrow until Nane Nane, can we starve William Ruto's government of the money and the remittances they receive from the diaspora? Because that will make him wake up from his slumber. He will realize that it is no child's play. This is about a people who want him and his people to live. If diaspora stop remittances for that 1 week, even that family, and I want to say with a lot of due respect, there are people who depend on their family members in the diaspora. Wakati wanaambiwa toka tufanye maandamano, wanasema they will not come out. Why? Because they don't even know the price of unga. Because wao shopping yao inafanywa from abroad, their school fees is being paid by their brothers and sisters from abroad, who have to suffer and struggle doing 2-3 jobs, sometimes doing odd jobs, not sleeping to send money home. Alafu hao ndio watu, and I say so with a lot of due respect, there are the people who, when the rest are coming out kuandamana, wanakataa, wanasema maandamano is for primitive people. I like what Wakili Ndegwa has said. I like what many people who are considered to be elite have said. They will be out on the street. I want to call upon diasporans. Let us also join. I'm not a diasporan myself, but I'm currently in the US. But I am saying we want to mobilize as many people as we can. Please don't send money home, because that money is going to pay taxes. That money is going into the pockets of individuals and cartels by Zakayo. If we do that, I can assure you that Zakayo and his cartel will know that this is very serious and he will vacate. And lastly, there
Maybe,
is
Doctor,
this.
maybe I'll allow you to land at that. We really have a long queue waiting.
Yeah,
So
I'm
if you
landing.
don't
I'm
mind,
landing, and I want to make.
30 seconds.
I want to make a very important point that let us not be blackmailed by William Ruto telling people that we don't love Kenya when we say we want him to leave office. That is blackmail. He has desecrated the privilege to serve as the head of state, and he must vacate. He has violated the constitution, and we have to tell him no. If there is anybody who is presiding over anarchy, it is William Ruto for violating the constitution. Not patriots, not comrades who are coming out to attempt, and by so doing, reclaiming their country by running the goons and anarchists and the violators and desecrators of the rule of law and the Kenyan people out of town. They must vacate. Nane Nane has to succeed. And another time, please allow us to speak
Dr.
about
Milton,
the corruption
Dr.
in football,
Milton,
because it's big. But
tafadhali, tafadhali.
I drop the mic.
Asante sana. I know you're passionate. Everyone is. Let us hear from other people. Kamau, you've been waiting for a while, and then I think Tribeless after you, and then Kenya Daima and Dr. AJO.
Oh yeah,
Okay,
thank
thank
you
you.
very much for the opportunity. This is Cam now, and I want to be quick. It goes to the people who have died. My condolences to the family, and all of Gen Zs and everybody. I mean, diaspora. I had that call of not sending money. I support that. So my advice is, whatever we do, the energy should be geared towards remembering the dead, because if you don't do that, we're in a lot of trouble. Last year they killed a lot of people in Nyanza, and that's a trick to make sure we slow down. We're gonna make them scared, we're gonna kill them, we're gonna abduct them, we're gonna make them scared for us. So that's a tactic. Now we have to say no to that. As we do what we do, we should carry placards, we should carry pictures on our social media. We should put pictures of those who have been killed, memories forever. We should start with JM Karaoke, Tomboya. We should remember them so that we can achieve our goals. If we don't remember them, we're not going to achieve our goals, because that's a trick. The trick of the enemy is to kill you, to maim you, to make you silent so that you can die and they don't get your goals. And that's politicians. Politicians are fake, they are liars, they take it from people. They take it from us. I'm kind of disappointed. I supported Baba. Baba is an opportunist. He just want to come in and jump wherever it is. So my two last comment is this: the ID, like Ndegwala said, the ID trick is to make you and us not to vote 2027. Is to slow the movement. The IBC formation is gonna take 2 years. I promise you, it's not gonna happen today. It's going to take 2 years. Is to slow the movement. The devil is a liar. So my thinking is, as we come together, I say enough is enough of these people who are stealing our minerals. Conjunction with the puppet. I used to support Biden, but because Biden supported a puppet in Kenya, I don't support him. I don't support Democrats. I didn't renew my membership because of what they did in Kenya. So my advice, let's focus. And whatever we do, let's think about those people being killed. And also, who is gonna be our leader? Because okay, who's gonna take over? We have to think about that. And above all, let's stay focused, guys. Let's focus on registration and demanding. We need an IBC tomorrow. We need an IBC now. And let's go to the chief's offices. Let's demand our IDs. How come our IDs are being delayed? Let's go to these offices and, hey, chiefs, in wherever you are, in Kikuyu, whatever you are, just demand your ID, because that's a key to the success. Okay, last point. Who are who are getting IDs? Are the people from Eastern getting more IDs, or Udaku area are getting more IDs? You have to pay attention who's getting more IDs so that they can multiply the election or the numbers. Okay, thank you guys. That's it.
Anthony, let's take two facts. I don't know that, we have to be very careful because divisive tactics are also many. So we have to also resist, question that information. If you've gotten that information that people in Eastern
No, I'm
province
just saying.
or Northeastern province are getting more IDs,
Let me
I'm,
finish.
I'm just saying, find out if it's a factual information, because we have to be very careful not to divide the movement by, you know, when we fall for the tactics. Be very careful because the enemy has resources, and they've been doing this for much longer than we've been protesting and marching, right? I think you get my point.
Right.
I'm
Okay.
not.
Really allow me to clarify. What I'm saying is, is Kisumu area getting more ID than whatever area? So I just saying, let's pay attention to those little details. So that's pretty much it. Thank you.
Right. And that's the point that I'm making, is that we don't know that that is happening. We cannot say that there's more IDs going to Kisumu or Nyanza or any one particular part of the country. So let's be factual, because we cannot fight them with their tactics. We have to fight them with different tactics that include integrity. Kamau, actually, I had called on you, Kamau Amaina, so you missed your chance. So go ahead now, and then we'll go to Tribeless. Kamau?
Yeah, thank you, Brief Scoop and the other guests. I just want to talk about what people are saying about the after we've taken Ruto out of office. What's next? I feel like we don't have a shortage of good leaders in this country. What we have is we have allowed a small group of people to come into to take over the ruling class. Since independence, we've had a very a small group of people who are intent on just benefiting themselves and not working for the benefit of the people in this country. But I feel like what the Gen Z movement has accomplished, the biggest win that the Gen Z movement has accomplished thus far, is the political and the political awakening, the consciousness among citizens that we are seeing at this stage. You know, like having such a space like this and other barazas where people can meet, you know, talk, a decentralized space where people can talk, even have lawyers and other professionals, because this movement has gone from being just a Gen Z, like an age group thing, but rather an ideology. We are demanding for accountability from our leaders. And we don't want to have like a Gen Z leader or a millennial leader. What we want to have is like whoever is in government, we want them to be accountable. I don't care if it's 50 years, I don't care if it's 40 years, I just want the guy to be accountable and to do what the Constitution stipulates. When it comes to choosing leaders, the Constitution is very clear. It guides us on in Chapter 6, leadership and integrity. If we cannot be electing people who have court cases coming in murder, rape, such people into our government and then expect them to, when they get there, to do a good job. No, these people politicians are not all the same, but they read from the same script. All these people, wherever, even in the US, wherever, they all read from the same script. And we cannot allow these people to hold us to ransom and tell us, oh, you know what, wait for 2027, wait for the election. You guys are killing us. You cannot sign a contract with you and then come and kill me and rob me and then tell me like I have to wait till the end of the contract. No, we can't wait. We are the sovereign. We the people we shall exercise our constitutional right. If we find that these people are not fit, and we know that the legislature has also been captured, parliament has been captured, we cannot allow these people to continue leading us when they are killing us and robbing us. That's all I had to say. Thank you.
Asante Kamau. Mizani?
Yeah, sure. I want us to go to the next speaker, and that is Tribeless, I believe. So then we'll have Mukenya. Gentlemen, we are really running late. That was not the intention, but we accept exceptionally. So if you get the mic, go straight to the point on what's next. If not, where you want to see this country going to. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Brief Scope, Eli Lukenya and Ndegwa, I'm happy to see you here. You've been here for some time. This is amazing because you help us digest and dissect some issues of legal issues. I have a few points to put across. Number one, what is the Kenya we want? The Kenya we want is the Kenya where the president does not have to go on top of vehicles to elaborate on the achievements he has done. Why do I say this? I am one person who lives in the diaspora, but I'm now back in Kenya because of the Gen Z movement. I am a fan of revolution. I'm very passionate about revolution, and I have been to Kenya. I've been back home since the 22nd of June, and I intend to be here for a little bit more time. So why do I say that the Kenya we want is the Kenya that the president doesn't have to go on top of vehicles? I don't know when last Keir Starmer or Rishi Sunak was on top of vehicles touring areas to tell the people what they have done. I have never seen Biden or any other leader behaving like our president. When you see a leader who is always on top of vehicles, trying to force issues on the people, explaining what he has done, just know that leader has failed. He has not done anything. He is doing PR politics. The Kenya we want, brief scope, is a Kenya where the police respects the rule of law, where the police is independent, where the police is not pushed by the executive or politicians to maim and cause mayhem on innocent protesters exercising their democratic right. The Kenya we want is the Kenya where farmers do not get fake fertilizers in the name of fertilizer subsidy. That is the Kenya I want for my children. I don't want my children to live in diaspora forever. I want systems to work back at home. I have been a diaspora person. I want the systems I've seen work in other countries to work in my country. Why can't they work? Some people are sitting and are comfortable, enjoying, while other people are suffering. The Kenya we want, brief scoop, is the Kenya where the president does not appoint corrupt leaders into positions of power. The president knows very well that the former governor of Kakamega, Wycliffe Oparanya, has a case with EACC. He's being accused of 1.3 billion Kenya shillings embezzlement. What does he do? He goes ahead to appoint him as CS. Shame. Shame on the president. Shame. He knows this man has got a case in court with the EACC. And this is not a disclaimer. I'm referring to EACC's letter this evening, written to Parliament. So that is the Kenya we want, a Kenya where the president does not appoint people with questionable integrity. I've just taken 1.5 minutes. I'm timing myself. The Kenya we want is the Kenya where the president does not impose a fake finance bill, a finance bill that did not follow the rules of Kenya. The High Court today, the Court of Appeal, invalidated that bill. We expect the president to refund back the money he has been deducting from Kenyans in the name of an illegal housing levy. The Kenya we want is the Kenya. He is telling us that we are formless. We are formless. We are rudderless. How did a formless and rudderless organization cause a movement that led to finance bill flop? A whole finance bill of the president, we were able to bring it down. How? A formless organization. And that is why we don't want a leader, because Raila Odinga led the group of last year, which opposed the 2023 finance bill. Did it go through? It went through. Now, a formless organization has shamed the president. And now that the High Court of Appeal has also invalidated the 2023 finance bill, we expect the president to stop causing anarchy. He is the chief architect of anarchy because he does not respect the rule of law. If he respected the rule of law, that bill would have passed. I have 40 seconds. A brief scoop.
No, I think your timer is backward, tribeless. You really must learn.
Okay, I'm finishing up. So that
Kindly,
is the Kenya
30
we want.
seconds.
Okay, so what am I saying? That is the Kenya we want. The Kenya where all systems work. And that is why these people from independence, they did away with people like JM Kariuki. They killed Tom Mboya. They killed leaders who are asking pertinent questions because they did not want systems to work. They wanted things to remain the way they are. There's a song which says, they told us things will be better. They told us things will be better. That is what Ruto promised. And as I conclude, freedom must be demanded from the oppressor. And that is what we are demanding. And if demanding freedom is anarchy, then Mr. President is the chief architect of anarchy. Thank you.
Wow. Tribeless. I think, brief scope. Brief scope. Part of the problem we're trying to solve as a country is politicians taking the mic and saying everything. And Tribeless did exactly that, but thank you. We will be protesting against that in the next session. Mkenya Daima, welcome to the talk.
And he timed himself, so you couldn't even
No, he was having an imaginary timer. I can tell you for free. But that was well played, Tribeless. Thank you for coming. Mkenya, the mic is yours. Let's
Yes,
see
yes.
if 3 minutes works. It's 48 past the hour.
Okay, amazing. I came a little bit structured today because I have attended
I don't hear him, do you?
Yeah, Mkenya is there.
because
Mkenya can hear you. I don't know if Brief Scoop is having his visit, but I think Mkenya and KOT, whatever you guys did, you know you are one of the reasons we are suffering, right? But it's all right.
okay, okay. This is what I want to say, and I want to be very loud and be very clear. We don't need political parties to fix systems. We don't need that, and we are not going to need it. The other thing that I want you guys to understand, as much as we are Gen Zs and we are fighting for the same thing, I want you to understand we might have different ideologies in terms of things like how we want, in terms of different interests, while we are pushing for the same Kenya that is working. Political parties are formed based on ideologies, lobby groups to push for this and this and this and that. But right now, we have only one focus, which is to fix Kenya. Anyone who is asking what next? What next? Why are you worried about what next? The question has already answered itself. We are fixing the systems. If the systems are working, that is the Kenya that we want. That is the next that we want. We want the cost. We want to fix the energy. We want to fix the food. We want to fix the manufacturing. We want to fix the water. I am from Sekuru. This since 1963. Sekuru has never seen water like this. As we are talking right now, I know I have to wake up sometime there, walk for 12 kilometers, go to a river called Nzetu here in Sekuru, go and queue so that I can get a little bit of water in a jerrycan from well. And this water doesn't have to be clean, but I just need a water that I can drink. Those are the systems that we want to fix. And the anyone who is asking what next, the moment we have William Ruto out, who is the problem, the what next question will solve itself, because we are not struggling to get a new president. We are not struggling with getting, I don't know, the governor. Those are not the problems that Kenyans are having. And since we said Gen Z is generations sorted, all the generations in Kenya right now, they are suffering. And their what next question is fixing this country, making sure this country has systems that are working. That is our biggest concern. We have no problem of leaders. Everyone is a lead. Most of the Kenyans are leaders. Kenyans are competent. Kenyans have all the right skills and everything. What we want is those systems to be working. That is our biggest concern right now as Kenyans. So this idea of trying, and I think it's stop putting doubt, stop putting this idea of like, okay, there is like a power vacuum that might happen and Kenya does not understand where we are going. No, we are not like Sudan. Look at our literacy levels. Do we look like people who don't understand what we are doing? No, we are people who understand what we are doing. We are fixing the country to have systems that are working. That's all I came to remind everyone. The what next question is a Kenya that is working, and that is what we are doing right now. Let's focus on removing William Ruto on Nane. Yes, I will also walk from Sunday. I will be in Nairobi as well. Very, very, very ready for Nane. All the way from Sekuru with all my 3 cousins. We've made some arrangement on where to sleep in Mlolongo to make sure that I'll be there on Nane. Thank you.
Mkenya, will you be bringing the cows alongside, because you need something after that?
Okay, it's a sad state of affair. These were my cows in 2016, and too bad because of kiangazi in Ukambani and lack of water, they died. Nilibaki na only 1 cow that has been surviving, and iko na jicho moja blind. Still, it's called Langi. So it's sad. I will not be bringing the cows.
What a memory to actually commemorate them. And I didn't know it was a bad joke, but thank you for sharing that. It reminds us we're still human at the end of the day. I would love to now welcome, that is Nothing KE, and then in that order we'll have Clinton, JM Kariuki, Libon, Thomas, and then let's see how that goes. If you guys can make 3 minutes, that would be great.
Hi everyone. As usual, we salute the ones we have lost along the way. The sick and everyone is affected. As we go on this path, I wanted to highlight we need to look into what we did the last time. We need to look into blood donation and funds for the hospital. And now what is out that we can no longer fundraise through Mchanga because they're trying to prevent that level of coordination. And then on privatization of our institution, yesterday Wakili said that one, we can raise a petition. So I wanted to know whether we are supposed to draft it, and I wanted to ask you guys if you can come on board on the issues that we want to prevent, because what you are seeing in the country is exactly how IMF work. First, they devalue your shilling. We went through that last year. Then the next thing, they insist you privatize the institution. And if you look at the institution they're privatizing, are the most profitable. So we need to put an injunction on that, and we need to resist the American military from coming into the country, and we need to ask the British military to exit our country.
Not ask.
This is Kenya.
Not ask.
So
Demand.
brief scope, you're
Take
saying
care of
waende,
it.
wamalize waende.
Kaende.
Anyway, go back to
Yes,
nothing,
they need,
KE. You
they
still
need
have 2
to
minutes.
Okay, so I was saying we need to ask them to exit our country because we know this military, it's not here for our sake. It's just a strategic position for them to be able to steal our resources, number one. Number two, they're able to, if they want to interfere with Congo, they will fly into Congo without our knowledge. Magufuli said when he was launching the Nyerere Dam that when they were clearing the place, they found runways in the bush, airstrip in the bush, that him as a president didn't know actually existed. So these things are not here to help us. We were talking about poaching. They're the same people who interfere with all that. So we need to draw the line and say, well, number one, we don't want them here. Number two, we also need to make sure that Bill Gates is a persona non grata in this country, because that guy rotates around Africa, making sure that he messes us up. He said on CNN that when COVID hit Kibera, they will fall like flies because there's no space for social distancing, and that's the one place that we never had a case. So they identified that our food is the reason why we were able to survive COVID, because I think they look down upon us. So we want to make sure that this man does not step into the country. We want to repeal this issue of agriculture, livestock, and then protect our airport. Like the whole time I was seeing this airport thing, I just went quiet because at the back of my mind I was thinking, let them lease out JKIA. When we can make the decision, we'll make sure we come up with a different airport. But apparently it says that for the next 30 years, we can never build an airport that can compete with JKIA. That tells you these people are securing the bag for themselves for a period of another 30 years. So we need to make sure, apart from just talking, we come up with petitions to stop all that, for them to understand, hey, by the way, we're not as primitive as they thought we were. Because if you go out of the country, they treat you like, you can say how they talk about immigrants, like we are something they can dispose at will, yet here at home, they are so comfortable. So we need to show them they do also. They need to get out and make this country such a pleasant place for people to live in. The people in the diaspora, they don't have to be treated badly like second class human beings. They know that they have a home they can go to, and it's a beautiful and an amazing place to live. You see the narrative they always sell. It's like we live in the bush. They talk about hunger like we are people who don't know what they want. If they get their hands off our resources, we'll be able to feed ourselves. We'll be able to make sure every Kenyan has decent shelter, access to free healthcare, and create employment for all of us. Instead, they're using this country as a dumping ground. most of the time, actually, like 80% of our products in the shelf are products from outside. Why are we allowing this? Kenya should not become a consumer economy, because when you hear the West say
You have
that Kenya
30
is
seconds
open
to
for
land.
business, they're simply saying Kenya is open for plunder. I thank you.
Thank you. And I love the fact that you mentioned something about 80% of the products we are importing, which is strangely enough was featured in the Finance Bill 2024-2025. And the administration was suggesting that we need to put excise duty extra on those imports so that we can encourage local manufacturing. So question is, did we equally shoot ourselves in the foot trying to resolve a problem that quote unquote is a problem, or was it the best solution? I would love to invite now, I believe that was between Clinton and JM, I can't remember anymore. You guys remember the queue?
Clinton was here first.
Yes. Hello, guys.
Hello, Clinton, proceed, 3 minutes.
Can you hear me? Okay, so I want to rant today. I want us to see the bigger picture right now. What is the illness that we are going through? We are going through because of political power. We've been into this political power of who's next, who's going to take over. Like we are just in that kind of mentality, which is not useful, which has brought us to this dumb shit that we are in. So for me, I don't think that we need politics anymore. Politics, we should dump it once and for all and to be done with. We want for this country, we have a leader. Our leader is the constitution and our motherland is Kenya. We need it to be effective, and anyone who has been granted that seat of representative, it should not think that he as a representative or she as a representative should be like the king on the hill. He should know that we are the power and he or she is the one who is just going to speak out of our demands. And the next thing, I've heard that some people want to be politicians like Samuel. I think that guy should be booted. Even though he speaks well, I think he doesn't represent us. If he wants to be a politician, then let him be. But he doesn't represent our movement. Our movement is not politics. Our movement wants Kenya to move forward, to be something better than it is right now. We are not even people are suffering out here. People don't have food. People don't have shelter yet. Tunapatiwa wifi. Wifi ni ya kufanya nini kama una chakula? Utakula tu mneti. Huwezi kula mneti. That's fucked up, man. So yeah, to go to realistic, let's be what Kenya is supposed to be. This is our land, and everybody should be taken care of. And Ruto should just go, guys. For me, I don't think that guy means well for the all of us. Whatever he is doing, he's just like house levy. Those houses he's making, it's not for us. It's not for the ordinary Kenyans. It's for the rich. Let's be realistic. That guy has no heart for Kenyans. And last point, I can say that this space, personally, I don't think we are going to like really need politicians coming in here telling us lies, and you do know those guys don't mean well for us. Let them stay away. Personally, we need a new Kenya, and new Kenya starts with us, nobody else. Nobody from politics is going to tell us how to run our own country, because it's us who's on the ground and it's us who's suffering. Let's make this place at least like home for people to come back. I hate seeing people at leo sijui for 70 people teachers wamepelekwa majuu. Hiyo ni nini? Hiyo ni brain drain bana. Let them stick here, let them love their country. Let them know that Kenya is there for them too. Hii story hapana, mi yenyewe sitaki brain drain. Nataka yenyewe watu warudi home, tupendane vitu tulikuwa napendana before, na to continue like that in the future. Thank you. I think I've done.
Thank you, Clinton. I think we actually had, I was paying attention to the people that as I added.
Hello?
JM, you are one of the last people added, so just hold on for a second. There was Ochieng, Thomas before you, and Libon, and then we'll get to you and Dudley. I don't remember when Dudley came, but I definitely know Thomas and Ochieng and Libon came before you. Thomas,
Okay.
Ochieng, Libon, in that order.
Okay, thank you, guys. I would like to thank everybody for the resilience.
Good evening.
Are you hearing me?
Good
Ochieng
evening,
tulia, kuna mtu
Thomas.
anaongea. I think maybe you don't
Am I
hear.
audible?
Ochieng, hold on one second.
We have Thomas
Because
online, Ocheng. If you can hear me, kindly wait. After Thomas, it will be
Yes.
you. So let's have
Can you hear me?
Thomas.
Okay, guys, thank you. I'd like to thank everyone for the resilience, especially KOT. He has been very resilient. He doesn't give up easily. Sasa, I want to touch on the issue Polo Kimani has been highlighting. We want Ruto to go, but we must be very careful because Ruto has very powerful friends and they have weapons. Americans have these powerful friends are the Americans. It is called the Anglo-Saxon Empire. These are people who are siphoning out our resources, our minerals. So we should be very careful with these people. Because if we are not careful, they will hijack this revolution and install another puppet.
Thomas, maybe if I ask you, what is your definition of careful? Because it's a bit a flat statement.
Careful is we must have an end game. And we must keep in mind that we must try, civic education is key. As much we want Ruto to go, and I want Ruto to go. But we need civic education to educate the people that Ruto is just a passing cloud. Ruto, Raila, the Gachagwas, these are puppets of the West. This bill was an IMF bill that was forced down our throat. Moi destroyed institutions because of pressure from these guys. We had institutions that used to work, used to create employment, like Rivertex. So we have to educate the masses and let them know that as much as we want Ruto to go, he has powerful friends that we should be careful of, and only education will help us through. Like the Iranians did, our situation is not different from the Iran of 1950, when Mossadegh came to power. He came to power, but he didn't know the Americans were his enemies. He was fighting the British. But the Americans came and toppled him through these demonstrations. There were pro-Mossadegh demonstrations were turned against him. And Americans were able to install a puppet for 25 years. It took them 25 years to recapture their country. So this is a marathon. Time is running quick. This is a marathon. Let us know that it will take long. In 2014, the youths of Burkina Faso burned down the parliament, but it took them around 8 years for Ibrahim Traore to come and save them. So we are not yet to Huru. Keep that in mind. Unfortunate, Ndego has left, Wakili Ndego has left. I wanted to know if we can challenge the presence of foreign military bases in our country through the law. We have a British, the British are sitting on 83 acres, I think, in Laikipia, in Nanyuki. The Americans are sitting in Manda Bay. Somebody was saying that the Americans are not around. They are around. They have a base in Lamu, Manda Bay. So how can we say that we are free and we have foreign military bases? We have conservancies. Another thing, I want an answer from anybody who knows the law. Can we challenge these leases that are being given to conservancies and companies like Tata Chemicals, a shady company that claims to be Indian but has headquarters in Britain and US, that sits on 224,000 acres, a land bigger than Nairobi. They had a lease of 99 years. It expired last year. Why do we give leases to people who siphon away our minerals? These are the same people who are installing puppets and funding these puppets. Those are the people I'm calling very powerful friends of these puppets. We should be very careful.
Now, Thomas, you and I are on the same page. I think you're raising very fundamental questions on the things that we have to look at next. Because what I've had enough times is Ruto will go and then we will be free without considering all these other blockades that are on our way. And I totally now buy into your idea of what next and the powerful friends. But don't worry, Dudley is here, very knowledgeable about the Constitution. He's an advocate. I definitely want to engage him with some of the questions you've raised, especially the issue of bases. But we do understand international relationships comes into play, and some of those treaties we sign and collaborations that we have will have to be looked into. But now, Thomas, I'll allow you another extra 1 minute to make your final remarks, please.
So my final remarks, we shouldn't give up. We should know that this is a marathon, a easy 100 meters. Hata Ruto step down leo, we still have a long way to go. We shouldn't give up. Another thing, we should question those leases. Don't forget about that. Those 99-year-old leases, we should also question them. So let me hang on there because the issues I have, they need their own space, actually.
Agreed.
Thank you, guys.
100%. Absolutely 100% agreed. When you started speaking, I got kicked out of the space, and it was actually giving me a few seconds to close. and literally, my Twitter app never, ever shuts down. Right.
Blame it on KOT, our good friend. He rattles the unrattable, if that's in English.
Lakini, you know, the questions that Thomas is asking, and this is what I was getting at, Eli. I know you told me that I have to be careful and remember that sometimes the enemies of our enemies is our friends. But there's plenty of blame to go around because it's not just, yes, people like Ruto have powerful friends overseas, but then those powerful friends, they are aided internally, right, by those people who are funded by these same organizations internally. Some of them are lawyers right here in Kenya. Some of them are the economists. Some of them are the so-called uncivil society, right? Because sometimes when you ask these questions, for example, about challenging military bases in Kenya, the lawyers don't have answers. Well, we have a lawyer here, so I'd love to hear from him because they divert us. You know, when we start talking about things to do with Ruto's friends overseas, we get diversionary responses. So Dudley, I think you had called on Dudley, right, to respond to those questions?
We'll come to him. Let's allow the other queue to dwindle off. We have Ochieng, followed by Laibon, and then we can have Dudley to answer to some of those legal questions. Again, there is also the aspect that we keep talking about. Politicians are stealing money. I think the 21st, and we have posted that report on the Jumbotron. If you look at it, we had a conversation with the ESCC. And like it or not, the people that help your politicians launder money, steal money, and get away with it happens to be the very, very people who call themselves friends of the court, aka lawyers. So who is the enemy? Ochieng.
Sorry, and by the way, Ochieng, just before you join in, there's a link to the Telegram up there on the Jumbotron. Please join.
Hello, can you hear me?
Join us as we work together in working groups. Ochieng, yes, we hear you. Go ahead.
Ochieng, can you kindly use your handset-free option? There's too much noise with your headsets. As you do that, we'll come back to you after Laibon. Please. Laibon, proceed.
Thank you so much. Can you hear me?
Laibon, proceed. We'll come to Ochieng after you.
Okay, thank you so much. After independence, they took our land ransom. So I'm coming from a place where we have a very big multi-billion companies here. Coming from South Rift, and we have companies, the Vinlays and the others. They have very large tracts of land, the most fertile lands in Kenya. and they are using it to grow tea. And this tea, they don't benefit the people. You know, before they used to say that this they are using it to employ people, so people used to go and work there. But as time goes by and gradually they mechanize their tea picking work, and that rendered some of the people jobless. So now as we speak, there is no, I think, absolutely nothing beneficial to the community. And we see leaders, these politicians, they know, they meet in the courtrooms, they talk, and they exchange money and leave us alone. So I'm coming from a family whereby I'm a descendant of someone who was killed so that land can be taken. They are part of the people who revolted about the takeover of land by the British. So they have been, our family members in the clan have been launching cases. They did to Arusha, went to UK, and when they reach UK, the the case stagnated, meaning that there are some politicians who are trying to use diversionary tactics so that these people cannot, they wanted to divert the attention of these old men so that they cannot be, the companies cannot be done away with because it was their cash cow. So as we speak now, we have so many of these kind of companies in Kenya, and we should talk about them, their legitimacy of stay here in Kenya. Another issue about is the issue of employment. No, we have seen this president going around saying that he has created jobs. How do you create jobs in outside the country? No, you tell people that I have created jobs, people are going to work outside the country. It means it is a failed state, because you cannot tell people to go to Saudi Arabia, whereby we have been making contributions to the ladies who are working there. They have been mistreated. They are suffering. Some of them when they were had a full health, but when they are coming back, they are very emaciated, meaning that it's about suffering. Some of them even wanted to commit suicide on a video call. So if the president is happy about that, it means there is something wrong about us, because if we cannot create our jobs here, how else do we want? If everyone has a job in Kenya, we'll be able to pay our debts, be able to manage this country, even without these issues of borrowing and going to IMF to give us some retrogressive bills. Again, we have an issue about the kind of employment authorities in Kenya, because you can see at the moment, we are seeing people going around looking for jobs. You can go for a job for only 20 people and you will get almost 50,000 guys applying. What does that mean? The government has failed to give people jobs. And then we have this help. They are going for the graduates. They want to go for them. Now you gave me a loan. I have not secured a job. How do you want me to pay? This, in simple terms, we are asking that question. Then the president is recycling the same guys who have been working in government since Wetangula has been in politics since the time I was young until now. Same case to Mudavadi, same case to Ruto, same case to Raila, same case to all those people. What do they have different from what we have? It means like we are recycling the old folks that damaged this country. Ruto was there in 1992, Raila was there, and those others were there. When this country went down, they were there. So what new things could they bring on board that we can give them a chance to preside over our affairs as a country? We are giving them these people. We are giving these people space to.
Libon, you have to land now, please.
Okay.
Otherwise, it's already past midnight in Nairobi, and it's still a Wednesday night. Should be Thursday morning. I still have Ochieng on the call. We will have Ochieng followed by Redemptor, and then we'll have Dudley for a specific reason. Let's have you, Ochieng, please.
Good morning, my fellow Kenyans. So I hope you can hear me. Okay, so I just wanted to react to a few things that I've heard in this space, and to help in the think tank towards what's next. I've heard about people ranting about the presidency of William Ruto, which I don't want to rant anymore. I was speaking to my brothers earlier, and they were telling me that they think Ruto is not okay mentally. And I tend to share the same things, the same thinking, because what this guy is doing is insane. I don't want to speak about it. But I want to react to what Tony Gashoka has said and what Eugene Omala has said. I wish they were here, and I wish this can reach. I wish this can reach them. Tony Gashoka started by telling that we need allies. We need a political party. Yes, we do need allies, but we don't need allies who are political demigods who are coming to beg so that they can take this opportunity and use it to benefit themselves, that we have seen. We need allies who have seen that there is a problem in Kenya and are equally concerned and are ready to go out on 8th to solve this problem that is there in Kenya. What is this problem? The problem is not William Ruto alone. The problem does not stop at William Ruto. Whether we succeed on August 8th or not, there are so many things within the governance system of Kenya that are rotten that we have to deal with. We have to deal with the runaway corruption. We have to deal with the unworking systems, like people are not getting ID right now. People are not getting treated in hospitals because doctors go on strike. There are so many problems that we have to deal with. So the buck does not stop at August 8. We have so much more to change in this country, and we have to do it methodically and systematically, so that by 2027 we have a system that is working, and we have the country that we want. We are not going on the streets. Now, this is to Eugene Wamalwa, and I wish it reaches him too. We were not going on the streets so that a youth or a Gen Z can get a position in government. We were going on the streets because it is our future which is in line, and we must change our future. And we must start now. We are going on the street because we want to write our own future. We want to have our own destiny. And that is what we are trying to make. We are not going there because we want political positions, or we do it through a political party. The time for a political party will come, but it is not now. Right now, what we are doing, we are draining the system, and we have to drain everything inside it, because we want to live in a country where we are proud of living. That's good. That comes to the question, what next? We want to live in a country that we pay taxes without feeling the burden that somebody is going to eat up our taxes, or somebody is going to mismanage our taxes. We want to live in a country where we have everything, every system working effectively. People are getting employed, doctors are getting employed, teachers are there. We are proud of the system that we have. We want to own land here and live here. We don't want to be exported abroad. So what next is to continue putting on the pressure that we are putting right now. Let's put the pressure on the government. Let's use the online advocacy that we are using to continue putting the pressure. Let's use every single mean that we have. What we have been doing, let us do it twice. That is what next, because we cannot start speaking about political parties or allies or whoever when we have not solved the problem that we have now. So what is next is, let us continue solving this problem. And that is my submission.
Thank you very much. And I do appreciate your submission. I will have you, our good friend, Redemptor. You've been waiting for long. You've listened from the young people and elderly at large. What do you make of these statements, the Kenya we want?
A very quick summary, that freedom fighters tend to be very entitled. My great uncle was a freedom fighter and was among the Kapenguria 6. Once he got in power, he did not even pay his electricity bill. He used to walk into shops and get a suit and not pay. When I started this and brief scoop thought naongea mbaya mbaya, I said that the young generation, the Gen Z, did not drop from the skies. They were backed by people who are also freedom fighters, and some who are the others who enable oppressors. I have said here that when I became aware that I'm a human rights defender, nilikuwa na kiherehere mingi. But then I discovered the system can crush me like a bug. There is a safety in numbers. So what did I do? I educated myself about the people who challenge the system. I got to know who is who does what, who is said to be a state operative, who is compromised because of this. I got to know them. And then I got to know what they fight and the impact of fighting. What am I telling you? It's right now we are fighting for freedom from economic oppression. And people get very defensive and say, where were these people when we were fighting, when we went to the streets? Had Rex Masai not died, I would have left this to the young people. But when I saw how the state was operating with brutality, I stepped out and I came to every forum because, like I've said, my children were on those streets. When you come here and you keep giving the same ideas, for example, the issue of minerals. There is a man who almost lost his life investigating minerals in this country. Why reinvent the wheel when it comes to economic oppression, when it comes to our resources being stolen, when it comes to all those unjust things that are happening in our country, when you can ask, who is doing this? Because they have, from 2013, this country has been run through taking the government to court. Do you know how many petitions have been written? Even now, as you are being hurt by the state, there are people who are going to court and you don't know about them. So we get so caught up with these celebrity status speeches so that if someone comes here and gives you a talk about globalists, you run with it for 3 days. Minerals, you run it. And what has that done to you? It has killed the spirit of fighting for freedom. And now you're discovering all these other injustices in your country. And these people are running with your fight because you lost focus. And I'm saying this with a lot of humility because it hurts me when young people are killed. Let me tell you how you lost focus. Initially, when we were fighting for the finance bill, people came with placards with very clear messages. Now, nobody seems to remember that the cabinet was fired and rehired. Nobody seems to be focusing on the finance bill was rejected, but appropriation bill was signed. The same akili mulikuwa nayo when you're making these messages. You need to go back and stop saying people are hijacking your efforts. There are people who have been fighting for this country, but they are acknowledging that this is for the young people. Do you want all of you? Do you want the state to hurt more of you? Of course not. The best way you can win any fight is to know your enemies. You have all of a sudden started listening to everything the president says, and then you come and call him out for when he lies. So that's the same thing you need to find out, apart from the president, who has been opposing when there was no opposition. So on Nanenane, I'll say, do not go in those streets just out of anger without a message. I always consider June 25th, Independence Day. I consider the young people who lost their lives our heroes. But like I've told you, freedom fighters tend to be very entitled. They hold the ball and say, this is my baby, I'm the one who birthed it and nobody else is going to take. In an emergency situation, those of you who watch medical dramas, in my last submission, I'll say this. When you are an emergency worker, it doesn't matter what risks you took to go through a burning building to rescue someone who was burning. When you land to the emergency room, you hand that person over to somebody else. And I know you don't want to hear that. And that's why you're saying, we don't want to hear anybody else. We don't want, and there are a million, I can say a million Kenyans who know what is wrong. So we have systems. We know why the systems don't work. Please do not tire yourself reinventing the wheel. If you're dealing with minerals, come and ask me, who are the activists who work around the environment? Who are the activists who whistleblow on conservation scams? Who are the activists who know about what is happening? Our land is being grabbed in the name of, do not reinvent the wheel because you'll get tired. I am not against people going to the street, but go with a very clear message. Repackage your messages the way you did in June so that we know exactly what these people did. They pretended to have given, and then they went and shared the positions. And I always say those letters had blood, the blood of young people of this country. We, the older generation you keep talking about, some people in that generation are more woke than everybody you hear talking. All these clips you're getting, they've gotten, there is nothing new under the sun. The information you have right now exists. You removed it from someone's research. Please acknowledge that person who's been fighting for that cause for the last 10, 20 years. I'm not the first one to fight for the right to live of a demonstrator. And I'm here to educate people and say, stop saying they died, start saying they were killed. Stop calling yourself protesters, call yourself a demonstrator. Just simple information that you will get. So our parents, every time I go to these walls and I hear our parents, I get offended because Okiya Mtata is our parent, if we are going by that. Someone like Tony Gashoka, for example, has gone to jail for opposing a government. So some of you might come and say, well, he got compromised here and there, but you need the information he has to get ahead. So that's my brief scoop. And Ellie, thank you very much. I've been here from 8 o'clock. I'm exhausted and I appreciate, I've been to wars with KOT, with Ayo. I don't know Ayo if he's still here. Pipita as well. I'm always there. And my message is always the same. Your parent is not the enemy. The ignorant youth who took 500 shillings last week is more of your enemy than a parent you can sit down with and educate, if they are not more educated than you. I believe the younger generation are smarter than us in this generation, but there's wisdom that comes from what happened. So I'll finish this last one. In 1992, Kenya got a chance for liberation. But do you know what happened? We spent 5 years fighting the way now I'm seeing fights. So Raila Odinga came and said, I want to be president. Kenneth Matiba, people's president at that time, wanted to be president. And the country squandered an opportunity. If we are not careful, we are going to squander an opportunity to liberate our country, because now we are dividing ourselves on generations. And then we are trying to have monopoly of knowing the injustices in this country. We are here to help you. This is your fight, but do not get entitled about fighting for freedom. Others have gone before you. Others have shed blood so that you can enjoy the freedom you have right now to call the president names. Let's honor those other fallen heroes of other liberations. Those are my submissions for the night. Asanteni.
You've said there's nothing new under the sun. And to some extent, I was wondering, Mama wa rika yako amelala, but you're here camping with your children, guiding them. You must be a loving mother. And we do appreciate you that. With a lot of respect, Redemptor, I have shared platforms with you. And I know you're raising very interesting curves to this talk that we must be able to interrogate. Now, the question is, when we talk about what next, it's not just about Ruto. It's about, are we going to spend the next 5 years fighting for who becomes what and lose an opportunity of rewriting our story and not our history? Dudley, the lawyer, is here with us. I will hand him over to Brief Scoop, and Brief Scoop, take over, please. Thank you.
Asante sana, Mizani. Actually, I'm just going to go straight to Dudley because I think you heard the submissions earlier on, and there was a question for Wakili about challenging the presence of foreign military bases. We know they are there, but took the one in Lamu, a massive one. You know, Kenyans aren't allowed on these bases. Like, what the hell? Like, how does this even happen? And of course, the IMF loans and deals such as the Adani one at the airport. For all intents and purposes, all of these look like bad deals, contracts signed in bad faith. Dudley?
Okay, thank you so much. I hope you'll be able to hear me.
We cannot.
I'm afraid. Okay.
Very low volume.
Is it better now?
I know a trick. You probably were on Bluetooth and something happened. So just drop off, we add you back, and maybe that one works. But in the meantime, as we get that sorted out, Brief Scoop, I noticed that we've had a lot of contribution in the chat section. I'm going to sample a few of your comments here and see what it says. Mariam, thank you as always. I agree with Tony. It is very crucial to bring in political players for the eighth match. That is Nane Nane. If they are going to shoot anybody, let them be on the front line. We have interesting
right down here by Maude, who gives us what needs to be done moving forward. Reconstitute the IEBC, abolish national government CDF, replace all CSS, reduce total number to 14, abolish CAS, first and second lady offices, prime CS and office of his spouse, women reps, nominated MPs and senators. Wow, that is huge. The list is up there. You can always look at it. We've pinned it on the Jumbotron. I also see Dr. Milton Yakundi say the president is not appointing corrupt individuals. He is that by himself. Okay. Engineer here says, Okuna, I'm glad to be part of the petitioners who drafted the sixth petitioner. Victor Okuna, thank you for being part of this petition, which is talking in reference to what exactly are we looking at here? Coram, Mindinot, Murgor, and Mativo, civil appeal number E3 of 2023 between the Speaker of the National Assembly and others. I don't know exactly what is the detail of that. Engineer, it's a bit scanty. Engineer Irene, there are a lot of engineers here, is asking, is it a crime to be in a meeting or stand or take pictures next with Baba? For you to actually look into. And earlier on, we had a clip from the National Assembly where the majority leader, Kimani Ichung'wah, was getting head on with the judiciary, questioning, they become part of the advocacy and, you know, agitation instead of just interpreting the law. That clip is available online from the National Assembly. Last but not least, I'm going to sample out one more here from who is this? Somebody's talking about their salons. Okay, we will do marketing in a few years from now. June Sige, who had talked about passionate about urban housing because it's a way to remove the youth from farming to supply food and water for the best for the Westerns and part of the Middle East food security. Okay, thank you for that, June. Among many of your contributions that I can't really go through tonight, these expresses, man, we were losing focus. And our problem is disrespect of the Constitution. Our enemy is Ruto. Our goal is to have an accountable leadership. Stop losing focus, says KD. Back to you, Dudley. I hope you've been able to connect to the call. I will unmute and admit you back on the call. Let's see if that works. Biscup, do you have him?
I did, but it seems he dropped again because I don't see him anymore. He came back and dropped again, unfortunately.
Maybe we keep that as a pending question because it's interesting to probably have enough time to discuss that. But I'll allow T to make his final submissions. We're really way out of time, KOT. You've been a proponent of the Nane Nane. You have had an opportunity to ask Kenyans and other people of goodwill to contribute to this cause. Do you think it is worth it? KOT, that is Sonko, please.
KOT Sonko, your mic is muted. Going once. KOT Sonko amelala. All right. Eli, do you you can close us out with your closing remark. I don't really feel like I have much more left to say. So Eli, over to you and you can close us out.
Yeah, actually, if I was an artist like Nonini Mgenge, I would have said, right now in Kenya, mvua inawaka na jua inanyesha, because with all the things that are happening, court cases getting way out of proportion. We have had the EACC challenging the nomination of former Kakamega County Governor Wycliffe Ambetsa Oparanya, stating that they have a case against him, and he's one of the nominees that President Ruto is willing to work with. A lot of questions there. And of course, at one point, I have said this in previous spaces, that we had the likes of Mbadis questioning the leadership and the administration of Kenya Kwanza, to some extent stating that they warned William Ruto about his nominees and he wanted a skunk and they gave him that. So question is, are we going to have a turnaround? Baba has been accused, and Baba, by that I mean Raila Amolo Odinga, has been accused of flipping on Kenyans, and now more than ever, there are a lot of quarters who believe this man fought for things that he believed in until he noticed
He's no longer going to be the president. Therefore, he just have to play ball and secure his future. If not, his tomorrow. For those and many more, we want to welcome all of you guys to all our spaces coming this Sunday on Mizani 254. We'll be looking at the Nairobi tourism policy, which is proposing a number of issues. But what I found interesting is they think the main problem of Nairobi tourism, it's you guys have been giving bad messaging about Nairobi. Probably that's why Governor Sakaja made sure that every time there were shootings on the street and you guys were protesting and spoiling the streets, the following morning, ilikuwa safi kama pamba. The only thing that distinguished there was a demonstration was the pink paints of gender reveal and the what do you call it? Is tear gas, but the rest spot on. So the Nairobi County is looking to pump up and ramp up marketing to make sure that tourism in Nairobi is taking a higher notch. So for that and much more, join us on Sunday on Mizani 254 from 10 a.m. as we discuss that with industry players, among others people, as we look at the policy. What does it mean to you and how will it affect you? Remember, the nominated CSS are getting into vetting starting today on Thursday. Who will make it through and will they make it through? Did you submit your memoranda? We can talk on the streets, we can bargain about who is wrong, but the decisions are made in Parliament. Focus your eyes on Parliament. My name is Lipiani Eli. I want to thank you all for making time to be here. Back to you, Brief Scoop.
Asante sana Eli. You just gave me something to close with, which is I actually spoke to somebody who works in City Hall in Sakaja's office, and even that person said to me that the fires were suspicious. They are suspicious. They work inside that office, and they are suspicious of those fires because guess what? The fires burnt in a very specific corner that is very secure, where there are files full of financial information. So go figure. This is not hearsay. This is not conjecture. This is what somebody who works in that office told me.
But that's the same thing Eric Ngubi told us from ESCC, that in Governor Obando's case, there was fires catching some specific offices and decides to do a deja vu or probably some abracadabra goes to the next room. So maybe Nairobi has the same illness.
What a coincidence, huh? And it just happens to the files that have financial information. Such quality submissions, I hate to have to close this space, and it's unfortunate that we didn't get to be able to hear from everyone. Eli, really honestly, I think we need to do some quick fire rounds and just do 2 minutes in future. We should try that in future.
And I doubt that will happen. Kenyans are used to Radio Jambo. So Radio Jambo, Gideon Goss, shout out to you guys. You've taught Kenyans and specifically Luyas how to speak longer on radio.
We can but try. Ambition. All right. Have a good night, everybody. We appreciate you, and we don't take you for granted. Thank you. Oh, by the way, on the Jumbotron, I should have mentioned this earlier. I kept forgetting. There is a link to the Telegram group for the Citizens Assembly Occupy Kenya, where we will be organizing for those of you who wish to, who aren't in groups or even for those of you in groups, working together in working groups as so that we can be better organized in this leaderless, fearless, tribeless movement. Join the working groups and let's work together to build the Kenya we want. Nobody else is coming to save us. Nobody is coming to save us. No politician. No magic bullet. We have to work together. We ourselves, roll up our sleeves and